Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe Decapitation.
What's going on, Noodles? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go here. Hey, we're heading into Week 3. We're going to talk a little bit about Week 2 and some other things that are going on. Quarterback injuries galore. I mean, what is going on in the NFL? Talk about injuries, Jim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody wants to get rid of the preseason. But
I mean, quarterbacks, every other kind of position, teams are banged up, and they're limping into Week 3, some of the teams anyways. And if just in case, if you're joining us, if you're new to the show, welcome to Football on the Know Show. We're more than glad to have you here. We are an interactive show. We like to bounce ideas off. We talk football, and we want to hear from you guys out there. So if you wouldn't mind doing us a huge favor, could you head over to YouTube? If you're not already there, hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell and get notified when we go live. We are also on Facebook. You can search us up on there, Football on the Know Show as well. Become a member, become a know-it-all. And as well, we're on Twitter. At FB_know. And if you're following us on podcasts, anywhere you can get your podcasts, you can go ahead, follow us, join the journey, and follow along. Appreciate y'all.
yeah, absolutely. So thanks again, everybody joining us here tonight. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that business. And I want to thank to our new sponsors that we have here with us, PPK, Paul Perry Kitchens down in Scotia Glenville, New York. Let me tell you, if you guys want to remodel your kitchen, I know a lot of people are getting some of that stimulus money, looking to put that into getting your kitchen redone. Not only do they do that, and some of the best companies out there that they work with, Wood Mode, Homecrest, but also they've gotten into the custom closets and showers now too as well. So I know a lot of people, women especially, they love to get that walk-in closet, buddy. You get that custom closet going on right now. It's getting near Christmas time too. Maybe you want to get that done for your loved one. Say, hey, honey, open your eyes, walk right into your new closet. All your shoes.
What about a little bit of a waterfall shower and all that?
I'm sure they do it all. Just go down there, check out my buddy Chris Boulant. He'll take care of you. They're at Paul Perry Kitchens on 144 Freeman's Bridge Road. In Scotia, New York. All right, so let's get to it. Week 1 was crazy. Week 2, even crazier. It's almost like flip-flop. That's what I mean. Some of the teams we saw Week 1, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers get blown out by the Saints, and then this particular week, Jameis Winston looks like he couldn't get out of his own way, but he was getting pressured a lot more, too. I thought that defense was able to hold on a bit and keep him in the game and keep it, interesting for a bit, but then it just became too much for them, and they get shellacked. I mean, some crazy marquee matchups, too, this first week, Joe. I mean, what do you think? What's one of the ones that really stood out to you in your mind?
I mean, actually, you could start off with Thursday night's game, Giants and Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to forget that.
I know you were, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but it was a great game. It was back and forth the whole way through. I mean, listen, there was mistakes made on both sides for both teams. There was also even some of the refereeing calls, man. I mean, Jesus. But anyway, that's every single week in the NFL. We all know that. But it was an uphill battle for both teams. I mean, we saw some positives on Washington's side. We saw some positives from Daniel Jones and the offense of the Giants at times, but neither side actually really clicked. You know what I mean? Like, there was mistakes made by Tyler Heineke for Washington, the new quarterback now installed there since Fitzpatrick's out with an injury. He had some bright spots, but he also was trying to force some footballs down the field and into double coverages, and that's what led to a couple turnovers on his part. Defensively, I thought that both defenses, despite what the final score was, I felt like both defenses had. There were times when they were pretty set in their ways. They were pretty good about forcing the other team to do what they want them to do, and not like kind of just sit back on their heels and just take whatever they can get. So honestly, I thought it was a very hard game. It was a game that we kind of expected leading up to it. It's a rivalry game. It's interdivision. They know each other so well. We knew this was going to be either like a close, low-scoring battle, which is what I kind of thought it was going to end up being like. I didn't expect it to be like this high-scoring kind of back-and-forth type of game like it ended up being. But all in all, it was a very good game. and it was just back and forth the whole way through.
Yeah, and I mean, and despite the injury to Nick Gates, I thought my world was going to crash before me again, and they had to switch some linemen around and bring it in. It seemed like that solidified the offensive line a little better, and I was surprised that some of that pass rush really wasn't getting into Daniel Jones, and he had a bit of time, and you saw what he could do when he has a little bit of time to throw it, because, again, what do you know about him? Yes, he's accurate on the deep ball, so he was able to look at some of those reads and get it down there. But also what I noticed, which was really big, which I've been asking, and a bunch of my friends when we talk about it, where are the RPOs? Where are the designed runs for Daniel Jones? And there they were out multiple times. They're like, hey, it works. Let's keep going. And that's what I liked about this particular game, is because they'll do it once, so like, hey, that worked, and then they go back to it at all. Yeah. And you also noticed that when he was running, that he was making sure he did protect the ball. Even one particular moment, he went down a little too early before he even got the first down.
Good for him.
But they were able to pick it up eventually anyways. Saquon a little slow starting out again too, but I think eventually when he gets a little more comfortable and they get this game going and that offensive line starts to actually gel together, because you think about it, this offensive line really together hasn't been together for a long time. I mean, some of these guys that are actually thrown into the starting position right now, they just grabbed a couple weeks ago. We talk about Price and Bredesen that end up coming into the game and stuff. Some of them are veterans, obviously, but togetherness and getting that brotherhood together and working together has got to come with more weeks being played together.
Well, really what the whole deal is for a newly acquired offensive lineman or two or whatever, Billy Price was the biggest addition of everything. For him to be able to play center, to come in and kind of nail down that position for the Giants, that was key. But also whenever you get a new position, new player that comes in, they got to learn the system first. They can't just be thrown right in there because, hey, they're in the NFL. They should no, because everybody's system is a little bit different than the others. The verbiage for the play calling is different, and the offense overall, or defense, if you will, either way, they got to learn basically a whole new kind of language in a sense when they go to a different team. So for Billy Price to come in and learn the offense actually pretty rapidly. For him to be insulated the second week since he was there, and to not only be able to relieve the duties of the previous center, but also to do it very well. I mean, he was spot on and had great pass protection for the Giants. He was pretty decent at run blocking as well, and it showed on the football field. It showed that if you are able to upgrade any of those positions on the offensive line, that you can see the difference. You can see that the Giants' offensive line, the protection was a little bit better. The running plays were a little bit better. Everything was a little bit better. Now, if Dave Gettleman, the GM of the Giants, going forward, can kind of maybe pull off another trade or two for some veteran linemen, or maybe dip into the free agent pool, because, listen, there's linemen that are there that maybe are capable to help your team become a better offense. You know what I mean? And that's really what the bottom line is. Like, for the Giants, me personally, I think that's the only thing they really need to strengthen. I feel like they have the weapons there. They have the running backs. For Daniel Jones, the type of quarterback he is, and we've witnessed this, as soon as he gets pressure, as soon as he tries to make plays, and that's where it leads to these big mistakes and turnovers and fumbling issues and what have you. If they could somehow strengthen this offensive line, it's not going to be stellar, but if they can do any kind of upgrades at all, this team could really turn the season around. The Giants' defense is right there. It's even better than last year. It's just got to all come together, offense and defense. If they can do that, then I think they could turn the corner and get better down the stretch as they go.
Well, as far as personnel, I think they are better, but so far playing this year, they haven't been as good as they were previously last year. But again, they started off to a slow start last year. It wasn't until later on that they gelled together. But I would like to see a little more man coverage than the zone, because what they've been doing is really that soft zone and allowing everything underneath, and that's how Washington was able to drive on them and keep getting those dink and dunk passes to Terry McLaurin and some others, and just drive right back down to the field to score back at them. So that's what ended up making it a 1-2 back and forth. If Taylor Heineke ends up being a guy that burns you like that, what's any other quarterback that's good? Wait till Tom Brady comes into town and then just lights you up. I mean, so that's tough, because the problem is these first couple weeks, they needed to win a couple of those, because after that, you're facing really tough competition.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that offensive
schedule
line
gets a lot harder.
I mean, that's really what's killing them right now. So, listen, I understand what you're saying, like the zone and you're giving up everything underneath, but teams do this as a scheme. Like, there's a cover 3 scheme where defenses will utilize, give up those 2, 3, 4, 5 yards, and then tackle them. And then you're shortening the field. They got to really work hard to get all the way down the field. And by that time, even if they get to your side of the field, there's so much more opportunity for turnovers to happen. There's so much more opportunity for a mistake to be made by the offense that's what those defenses do. It's like a bend, no, don't break type of defense. And I think the Giants do it well. It's just the biggest thing is that if the offense can't put up points to help the defense out early in the games, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Try to start to get a little bit of a lead, get a little bit more momentum, and that way the defense can feed off of that, and you'll see a difference going forward.
Right, and I think they were really going toe to toe with them and getting it done. But then again, that's when penalties ended up coming through and things like that.
Yeah.
And then your missed opportunities.
Right.
We saw it with the big dropped pass on the deep pass. The penalty with the holding with C.J. Board on the sideline on that big Daniel Jones run where you got to see what he did with his legs and didn't trip on the turf this time or on the grass this time on his way there. He made it.
He made sure
all the way. And you see that look of, oh man, after really have to do it again after I did all that. He's like, oh. And that's the thing sometimes with these refs, and you see this like that particular play on that penalty. If that guy just didn't, the defender didn't actually face them when he just had that tug of the jersey and see that, they probably wouldn't have called it there. But also previously, right before that, the defender ended up pulling on C.J. Board and kind of tugged down on him. So I thought that should have been offsetting penalties, if anything, and then replayed it down again. But when it goes one way, that ended up taking your drive from being right there in the red zone all the way back out of it, and then you're settling for a field goal or less. And that's what happened. That's the story of the game. And then penalties finish off the game for them.
Right.
And you can't have that. And hopefully on a team that teaches discipline, they're not looking very disciplined right now, and they need to get it straightened out. Another game I think that was really exciting and cool to watch and exciting for you, I'm sure, Joe, is the Las Vegas Raiders and the Steelers here. That game was close for a little bit, but then the Raiders all of a sudden started torching it up without Josh Jacobs, but really showing you what Derek Carr is made of and what he can do. And
I already knew.
And that acquisition, well, yeah, I'm talking about the mainstream
big
media
media
out there.
Big media.
But also what they wanted to do with Ruggs out there. What was he able to do? Get explosive and beat people down deep and use that speed to get out there. And, had a great big touchdown in that game too as well. And it was sad that T.J. Watt ended up coming out of that game for a while. So that was tough for that defense.
Pulled his groin.
For the Steelers. But Vegas, they're 2-0 right now in this division. So where the Chiefs had fallen now to the Ravens, so now they're 1-1. Raiders are there at the top with the Broncos. But if you look at wins, more impressive wins by the Raiders.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, what the Raiders have been able to do. Listen, nobody gave them the time of day the first couple of weeks to win either one of those games. And I'm going to be honest, against the Ravens, I was a little skeptical because all it was predicated on is how much improved is this Raiders defense. Is it at all improved? They got a new defensive coordinator, a bunch of new players that came in via draft and free agency, especially over the last 2 to 3 years. Now it was all time to get it put together, get everybody on the same track. Gus Bradley comes in as a new DC, and we know he's successful. And this was gonna be the biggest test for him, I feel like, ever. And just at least they had an off season to practice and everything, but you started to notice a difference week one when they were playing the Ravens. They had a few stops where normally, if you go back to last season, if you had that defense out there, they're not stopping nobody. Mm-hmm. Lamar would have went right down the field, would have scored another touchdown. Like, it would have been a whole different, outcome that way. But with this new revamped defense with the players, and they're 110, they give 110% every single down with the scheme that Gus Bradley has implemented, and they're getting pressure finally on the defensive line. That was a critical thing for them, and they're getting it done. New additions with Yannick Ngakoue. Max Crosby is starting to kind of come back into his own since his rookie year, and they got tons of depth behind them. Clelin Ferrell hasn't played in the last couple of weeks, but maybe he's looking in to come back week 3, and that's another player that can wreak havoc in the backfield. So defensively, I feel that's the where the most credit has to go, because that's what's really changed up for them. And then offensively, they're a top 10 offense. They just, listen, we all know Darren Waller. Everybody in the league knows that Darren Waller is a very gifted tight end and one of the best out there. But and everyone wants to say, oh, Derek Carr's getting better. Here's the thing is Derek Carr's not only getting better, but he spread the football around to 8 different receivers this past week in Pittsburgh. That right there is showing you that he's not just an average quarterback. He's a top 10, or even you could even say he's an elite quarterback. You can say that because he's showing everybody, stat-wise. He leads the league right now after 2 weeks in passing yards. He's showing everybody that he can handle the pressure. And that's the other thing. You talk about pressure. Every time a team blitzes Carr, his QBR goes through the roof. He's got like a 130 QBR when people blitz him. So you're starting to see the makings of a very potent offense that can stay with a Kansas City Chiefs offense. And now that their defense is improving, they could be dangerous down the stretch as long as they stay healthy. We know that teams are getting banged up right now. The Ravens are banged up. The Steelers now are banged up. And the Raiders, after 2 hard fights on the football field, they're even starting to lose players as well.
Absolutely. We've got Paul Matty in the house again with us tonight.
Hey, what's going on, Paul?
What's up from Florida out there with us again?
Paul?
All right. It's good to see you out there. What'd you think of week 2 so far? Any surprises out there for you? I know you went with your picks along with us last week. How'd you do on your picks? I mean, right now, Joe got me again in another 2 games. He went 13-3. So the competition's heating up this year, buddy. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll fall
Don't
this
worry,
year.
you'll
It'll
come
be
back.
exciting. We'll see.
You'll come back.
All right. So, again, the Raiders, I'm excited for you, too. It's good to see the Raiders win and things like that. And I love the way that dome looks too. I mean, it's really exciting. You've got, John Gruden. I saw they did have some troubles at times in the red zone again, but again, getting there though, and a lot of times they fixed that 3rd down conversion part you were talking about when they had issues. And I think they're getting the big explosive plays on that Pittsburgh defense, and it ended up working out. And now here they go. And that's what you want to start off 2-0, especially in that division where it's close, because you're going to end up having to face the Chiefs and the Chargers again and things like that.
And that's the thing you talk about. John is still going to be John, because as much as like I've picked on him since he's been there as a head coach, whenever it's short yardage or it's like 3rd and short or something like that, it's a run. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows it's a run, but why John still continues to run the ball anyway is beyond me. But he is starting to come out of his shell a little bit. You noticed a little bit of that in the Ravens game, where it was, it was what was it, the third, or no, was it 4th down or 3rd down? I think it was 3rd down, and like short yards, like 4 yards or something to get the 1st down. And that was overtime, and he, instead of running the football, which typically he would do, he had Derek Carr roll out, play action, and just drop it over the shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Paul says he goes, I was about 50% on my picks.
Okay. I mean, hey, it's not easy picking.
Exactly.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we don't know, sometimes we have bad weeks. Like I said, my first week is usually bad. And then I'll have one and a couple other ones
you don't
where we have
know.
a major stinker.
Like week to week.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Nostradamus. Nobody knows every single thing every time. I mean, it's all whatever you think, philosophy, whatever. Some people that pick completely right a lot of times just, they'd be like, oh, no, a bird will beat up this one, so I think that'll win. That
go
one
by
beats
the
that
animal.
one. Yeah, the Panther's
the
going to eat
table.
the cardinal. And, I mean, it's like, okay, sure. I like purple, and so you never know. But it's a pleasure having you join us here tonight.
Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great game. Feel good about the Raiders. Another game I thought was good that I was rooting for the Cardinals here because I want them to take the division here was the Vikings and the Cardinals. And the Vikings had them early, and then the Cardinals started to get it back together. Yeah. And you saw what Kyler Murray can do with that rollout pass out to the outside and then throwing it over wide open to the receiver there and getting Rondell Moore. Yeah, absolutely.
My question about that play is, whose responsibility was it to cover him? Because he literally was standing still,
there.
And nobody on defense was around him. Like, nobody. Yeah. Not even, like, chasing him down. Nobody was around, and he was just like, hey, Kyler, hey, thanks, buddy. and then just
Yeah.
I was like, who screwed up?
Yeah,
Somebody screwed
did.
up
Somebody
on that
did
one.
back there. So they was just like, that's more than a screwed up assignment. You know what I'm saying?
Mission failed.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
But
let's
you
hope.
know, it ended up being close. They came back, but then also
Right.
the late in the game, here come the Vikings fighting back too on some big plays with Justin Jefferson there, getting it back into field goal range. It looks like a chip shot now for this guy again, and end up missing it right in the last seconds here, and the Cardinals end up winning the game. Again, a scene that is all too familiar here for Minnesota fans. And there you go. The Cardinals end up pulling out the win barely at the end, but both teams played really well. I thought, again, the defensive line of the Cardinals played really nice too, but Kirk Cousins, facing some pressure here, was able to get a lot of big plays out there. So the Vikings seem like they're trying to turn some things around here and compete for that division as well.
Definitely, and that's the thing too, is like
Dalvin Cook's some major big runs too.
This Cardinals defense is, like, we talked about it in the offseason. We talked about they have the potential with the new additions that they have, as long as they start to gel, that this defense could be not only improved, but it could be one of the nastier defenses that you got to deal with. So, and it looks like as it's happening in the first couple of weeks, they've handled business. Going forward, I mean, listen, Jimmy has mentioned Chandler Jones many a times. We know how gifted that guy is. To have the amount of sacks that he has already after 2 weeks is astonishing.
He's back.
And the other thing too is when you have really good players surrounding him, that just is going to heighten his game. So he's just taking over games at times in critical moments where they need it the most. Cardinals offense, good luck stopping them. I mean, they have a run game. They got a better, improved offensive line. They got weapons galore. I mean, when you think you have someone pegged, you really don't. For the Minnesota Vikings, I feel like this is going to be one of those years where they're going to be in a lot of games, but end up losing them, just like this game with the Cardinals, where it was just a tight game all the way, and they end up failing in the end. Offensively, they have a good offense. It's not like they don't have a good team. It's just, I don't know what it is in Minnesota. There's just something about them where they just give up. One unsung hero, though, that I'll say about Minnesota's offense is not Justin Jefferson. It's not even Adam Thielen. It's this new kid, KJ Osborne. He's the third receiver, and in back-to-back weeks, this guy's not only getting eight targets per week, but he's a huge difference maker. So watch out for him going forward. I mean, this Minnesota team, they still could turn it around. It's not really we're only 2 weeks in, but Cardinals are on their way to making a big impact this year.
All right, yeah, definitely. What other games out there this week do you think that we're really kind of pretty close, or kind of were big-time games here for you?
I mean, honestly, the Kansas City-Baltimore game was a good game to watch. That was, in prime time. I mean, there was everybody knows, like, oh, well, it's the Kansas City Chiefs offense, high explosive type of atmosphere in Kansas City. Baltimore Ravens, they haven't beat Kansas City. Kansas City's kind of got their number type of thing. Everybody kind of rolling with that deal. And Lamar Jackson, that we don't think that he's going to win. The big thing that was made up is that Patrick Mahomes has never lost in the month of September. And we don't think it's going to happen now. But here's the thing: is the Chiefs' defense, as much as these Chiefs have been hyped up before the season even started, we all know how great their offense is. But defensively, my biggest question is, how much improved are they? I mean, what I've noticed is that they've actually moved Chris Jones from D tackle to D end, which for him, it's got to be extremely awkward. This is a guy who's played D tackle his whole entire life, and you're going to move him to D end. And then he looked lost at times when Lamar Jackson was running those option runs, and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, just kind of.
He didn't know if he had to come in hard at the running back or if he had to stay outside. Like, he was a little bit lost in those situations, and it showed dramatically. It was bad. And as far as the Chiefs' defense as overall, they couldn't stop the passing game. I mean, we know Baltimore don't throw the ball a lot. I mean, they're a running team, but they were able to mix in some passes where it just left guys wide open, and you see that going back to week one with the Chiefs, teams can throw the ball on this team, on the Chiefs defense. So going forward, I don't feel like they've gotten much better. I feel like they're kind of the same defense as last year, not really much improved, but kind of just stagnant. And that's got to be concerning going down. I mean, you're only in the season 2 weeks in, but teams are going to watch these games and say, hey, we can as long as we have a decent offense, we can hang with the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And then maybe, just maybe, once or twice throughout the game, our defense could come up with a, stop them to punt the ball or get a turnover possibly. So, and then for the Ravens got to turn this thing around, and I know it's going to be hard for them because they've had to battle injuries these first 2 weeks. So maybe as the guys get more healthier and they come back and they trickle back and they get their starters all aligned, they can turn this season around and get right back on track.
Paul says the D end always takes on the QB and the option to force the pitch is how he was coached. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Here, that's the bottom line. D ends have to contain. That's their job. So when D ends either stand still, you're just giving up the outside anyway. You got to contain the outside rusher, whether it be the quarterback or the running back. That's your job, is to force everybody up the middle. And if you don't do it, like Chris Jones, he was lost. He really was. And it showed. And you're going to see teams pick on his side more often until he starts to get it. Mm-hmm. Listen, Chris Jones, a phenomenal all-pro type of D tackle. You move him to D end, now he's not really quite sure what his responsibilities are. And because of that defensive line is going to be hurt by that. So, and the Baltimore Ravens picked up on it really quickly, and they attacked his side quite often, and you saw it in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Lamar Jackson was able to run all over the place wherever he wanted and got it done.
How about that fourth down, though?
Yeah.
Going for it on fourth down, I was like, whoo.
Yeah, went for it, and he got it, though. I mean, I was confident even that he was going to get it, and I had picked the Chiefs on that one. But it's just – and when it comes down to also when you look at these guys, when you one thing that bothers me about scenarios and when they bring up these new quarterbacks too as well, you and I have talked about it. They want to say, oh, this is a new style. This is what these new quarterbacks are bringing to the table. It used to be about mechanics and this, but look at Lamar Jackson make this sideways pass and stuff like that. Well, let me tell you, he could have stepped up in that pocket a little bit there and just threw the ball straight out. He did not have to jump sideways and then throw sideways across his face. Right. And that was a wide open pass, which was fairly easy to hit, even if he jumped and kind of tossed it. But on the other flip side of the coin, it becomes detrimental to your team. And that's when you saw Patrick Mahomes failing to just go down or do something else, trying to make a play too much out of what's going on. Yep. And he's done it so many times, and everybody gives him accolades for it, that this time it came about and just bit him in the rear. He just fell right on his face, the whole thing, and just kind of tossed it. Not even a great pass to where Travis Kelce had to come to it and couldn't get to it enough and end up being the interception, and that was the game. Signed, sealed, delivered. Goodbye. Right. See you later.
And that's the funny thing is that big media is
if that was Daniel Jones, we got grilled.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is big media is always talking about, oh, my God, Patrick Mahomes this, Patrick Mahomes that. He's amazing. He doesn't ever screw up. He doesn't. Listen, if you watch these games, when he gets pressured and he knows he's in trouble, he tries to make something happen no matter what. And we witnessed that against the Ravens. Why are you flicking the football hoping that your receiver's going to come down with that when the defender's right there? So, I mean, he's taking too many risky plays, and now you're starting to notice teams kind of jump these plays, and they're making them pay for it.
Absolutely. One of the other games I just want to touch on quick was the Chargers and the Cowboys. This was a tough one to pick.
I got one other one after that.
Okay, that sounds good. And then so this one, it was close. It went a nail-biter right down to the end.
Yes.
Again, another, it looked like maybe the Chargers had it here, but then the Cowboys fight back there and were able to get that long field goal. I think it was a 56-yarder. And where their kicker, Greg Zuerlein, had failed them the previous week where he missed like 3 or 4 field goals. Able to seal the deal for him late in this game and to put away the Chargers, which was a really hard-fought game. The really Cowboys end up getting a win. They're 1-1 on the division, and a really tight, weird division now, too, again, as well, the NFC East, which it always is. But now that bumps the Chargers down, so now that you have the Broncos and the Raiders ahead of that division. But what did you think about that game, Joe?
I mean, for me, like, first of all, kudos to Greg Zuerlein, because this man, not many people might not even realize this, but this guy went through several surgeries, back surgeries, and he's fighting. He's fighting to come back this year. And you kind of see rustiness in week 1, and that's why people were kind of like, is he going to be able to play anymore? Like, what's happening here? But we saw him come back strong in week 2, nailed a couple of those big-time field goals, and giving the Cowboys a chance, you know what I mean, and making it happen there. But another thing, too, I want to touch on is Micah Parsons, their rookie draft pick that they selected this past draft in the first round, was moved to D-end in this one. And man, oh man, this guy can rush. That's one thing that we knew about him coming out from Penn State, that he was not only a guy who could really rush the quarterback, but also a guy who can play extremely well against the run. And with him moving to D-end, it was like they weren't missing DeMarcus Lawrence, at times with him out there. Like, he was balling out. He was creating a lot of headaches for Justin Herbert, getting a couple of sacks, couple of big-time plays in the backfield. And I think that kind of definitely helped. It definitely helped out that Cowboys defense that's kind of been lacking in week 1. They got a spark now. You know what I mean? So maybe the Cowboys defense, is improved enough to where they can make some noise as they go further into the season.
Right, still getting that pressure, even though DeMarcus Lawrence wasn't there, and even getting some interceptions here on Justin Herbert early on that really set the tone for that game as well. But when you flip it back also on the offensive side, I think that two-headed monster of Tony Pollard along with Zeke Elliott ended up working out nice for them as well.
I mean, you call it a two-headed monster. I'm going to say Pollard is getting the most of the touches right now. I mean, you go back to week 1, it almost was like Zeke started the game, but then as the game went on, Tony Pollard kind of turned it on. He was in there for receiving yards. He was in there for rushing. He went off on week 1. And then week 2, again, Zeke started again. Zeke did a decent job, but here comes Tony Pollard again, stealing away carries, stealing away, catches out of the backfield. So Pollard, I mean, all honestly, I think Tony Pollard is better than Zeke right now. I just have to say it. I mean, for the Cowboys, if they wanted to go all in on Pollard and start him, I think he's more dynamic. And I think it would really help this offense even more. But again, we know they're going to stick with that two-headed monster, much like other teams are doing right now in the NFL.
I hear you, too. Plus, they're tied to that contract, and that's where even Cowboys fans, especially after these past 2 weeks, have been out there and taking a look at it, and where we have said, like, this is where you challenge the money on running backs. Where is too much? Because that was the question here about even with Zeke. Where are you going to invest all that? And they did, and then they had the question about the quarterback, and that's where people said, well, you got to pay the quarterback. Why are you giving it a hard time here for Dak and this and that? But then you gave it to Zeke, but where he hasn't really had the production, and Tony Pollard's on the other side, looking, like you said, a little quicker. He's got a little more dynamic moves, and he's not getting paid the same amount, and he's having more production overall. So that's what people take a look at.
And real quick on the Chargers, listen, Charger fans, do not panic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really early in the season. Listen, the guys got a really good team. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Listen, here's the problem: when you face teams that you don't normally face, you got to kind of feel them out throughout the game. And if you don't make just the right adjustments or execute the plays that you need to execute, that's why you ended up with the loss this week against Cowboys. They're a different opponent, not used to them, and just couldn't come back from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last one that I wanted to get to is Tennessee and Seattle. The Titans and the Seahawks. This was a really good game. I was kind of a little surprised. I thought, after the debacle in week 1 with Tennessee getting mauled, I was like, I don't know what's going on with this offense. What's happening? Their defense is still just as bad as last year. I don't know what's gonna happen with this franchise going forward. And going into Seattle, this was in Seattle. I didn't think that the Titans were going to pull this one out. I thought that they would struggle a little bit. Seattle Seahawks were going to create a lot of pressure with their various blitzes that they do, and Russell Wilson and their offense. I feel like they were going to get a lead early and just kind of maintain that lead and end up winning. But man, Tennessee stormed back in this game. They punched Seattle in the mouth. I mean, quite honestly, they ran the ball. They did the necessary plays they needed to do to get the win in the very end. And listen, I mean, call myself out. I wrote off the Titans in this week. I thought they were going to kind of just falter to Seattle and not really do much. And I was surprised. I mean, hey, That's why they say any given Sunday. That's why we play the game. So Titans, man, good for you guys. Way to get back into the win column, and let's see what happens in week 3.
And that's why you make adjustments too, because again, like it was happening the way you had called it. The first half was all Seattle. The defense was getting to him. Russell Wilson was throwing at will to these receivers. Tyler Lockett, another big, huge play again as well. And
lots of them.
yeah. It looked like they were going to take it, and then they make adjustments. They weren't able to run. It seemed like they were calling more pass plays too, even almost to kind of like, well, we have Julio Jones now, and we have this. Let's do this, and let's utilize it. Instead of getting back to the basics of what they're good at and what they're built for, that's when they ended up turning it on and being able to get Derrick Henry out. And then that's when he stretched out for some big runs. And again, you try to stop him, and he's just was knocking them all over. And they were able, like you said, just even when that run game getting it involved, coming back just like that and bringing it close and taking a victory right at the end. I mean, it was pretty interesting. I almost put them as we do the picks. Yeah. I had Seattle right there, right to right W for a win, and I'm like, what?
What's happening?
No! Like, oh, my God.
I know, right? Oh, yeah. Hey, I mean, another epic week in week 2 of the NFL.
Yeah,
let's see what week 3 brings us. Hey, hopefully teams that are injured right now and are kind of battling out, hopefully they get some healthy guys in for week 3, and so we can see some better games here.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're talking about battling back and all that stuff.
Yeah, what's going on?
I've got a segment that I'm going to bring to the table here. It's something I decided to come up with, and I would take a look at some of these players that end up playing well, here and there. But then all of a sudden, where are they on Sunday? You got a fantasy player. You're like, this guy does me good every week.
Yeah, what happened?
You go in there, and then you're like, dude, where are you? Never showed. It's a no-show, not there. So I came up with the milk carton player of the week. It's for the guy that's just missing that weekend. I didn't do week 1, so I'm catching up with that. I'm going to get to that one, and then in a little bit I'll go back to week 2. But here we go. From week 1, the milk carton player of the week had to be Aaron Rodgers because, again, when he played that Saints defense, just rusty as hell, not being able to get the plays done, and putrid for fantasy owners, which is we had him in one of our teams.
That's
so
right.
we ended up getting like 1.5 or 2 points for him altogether. So the milk
rough.
carton player of the week for week 1 for me was Aaron Rodgers. So that's week 1. I'll get back to week 2 in just a little bit. But he talked about it before, Joe. He talked about the injuries that we faced this particular this week. I mean, the 49ers seemed like every time they put a running back out there, it was like, bing, dump, send him out on a stretcher, boom, bing, he's gone.
I just have to say this as a disclaimer to any free agent running back that's out there. If you would like to stay healthy this year, do not sign with the 49ers. They are cursed. Anybody that's signed with them has been injured. I mean, it's been absolutely insane. The amount of injuries for that position, at the running back position for the Niners. In 2 weeks, they've lost literally everybody that they've had. So I'm just warning you. If you're signing with the Niners, you most likely will get injured.
Yeah, I mean, we see even Baker Mayfield had a bit of an injury, but he came back in and ended up coming back and winning that game, which ended up being close against the Texans out of everybody. I mean, the Texans, I think, have kind of been my surprise so far this season, these past 2 weeks, playing bigger than what it looks like their personnel has. So kudos to them. But, I mean, everybody getting banged up. So we're going to talk about some of the most the injuries that have the most impact on their teams. And let's start it off here with the Bears and Andy Dalton right here and having that foot injury. And here you go. This is what we kind of asked about with the Bears. I mean, was it going to be even just his play or not? Or what was it going to take even to make the switch? And just like it happened with Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe and stuff like that, all you need is just maybe that little bit of an injury. We had talked about it with Jimmy Garoppolo possibly with the 49ers, and that's when you would see Trey Lance. But lo and behold, a bunch of injuries throughout this season or throughout this week, and Andy Dalton was going to be their guy even after earlier today. Matt Nagy said, well, if he's healthy, he's going to go and he's going to be my starter again.
Right. Yeah.
And he was going to play. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, I think it's worse than when we thought. And so he will not be starting. So now enter Justin Fields. And
thank God.
It's going to be hard, especially if he produces this week, to go back to Andy Dalton once he can come back and see how fans react to that.
I'll tell you right now, I mean, this is kind of like a blessing in disguise for Bears fans out there. You talk about, this is going to hurt the team. No, Andy Dalton getting injured is not going to hurt the team. In fact, it might actually improve this damn team. I mean, when you have Matt Nagy claiming the starting spot to go right to Andy Dalton throughout this offseason program, even in preseason games, you saw flashes from Justin Fields. Like, wow, look what he did there. Look at him extend the play there a little bit, just enough to get the ball into the end zone. Look at him take off and run. He adds a different dynamic at quarterback that Chicago really does need because, honestly, their offensive line isn't the best right now. And they're going to need a guy like that from time to time. So now Justin Fields is going to finally get his start as a Chicago Bear officially week 3 of this season in 2021. And watch out for him because I think he's going to steal the show this week. I really do. I was very high on Justin Fields in the draft. I thought that he was going to come in as long as he's able to learn the system. He's got every other intangible you possibly could need. Super smart. He's accurate. He's got a strong arm. He's mobile. Wait and watch this week for Justin Fields. I think this guy's going to blow it up this week. Yes, he might still have some mistakes here and there because he's a rookie, but I'm telling you right now, he's going to really help this team get some W's in that column.
All right, yeah. I mean, but when you talk about the last game too, even though Justin Fields came in, I don't think he really tore it off the roof or anything.
No, because you got to remember.
Yeah.
You got to remember, he practiced with the second team.
Right, and that's where you see the difference between preseason
You're going to see that this week. Listen, he was showing flashes in preseason when he was able to practice with everybody and he had that chemistry going and everything. Darnell Mooney might have a breakout game in this week because that's one of his favorite targets. So watch out for this Chicago Bears offense. I think in 1 week, if Nagy does go back to Dalton, let's say Dalton's healthy the following week in week 4, and Nagy decides to go back to Andy Dalton, even though Fields went in, did his thing, got a W for the team, now you know where Nagy where he relies on his power and he's trying on a power trip type of deal, trying to say, no, we're going to do it my way. I want to stick with the veteran, blah, blah, blah. Listen, Nagy his head was on a spigot before he drafted Justin Fields. Everybody kind of wanted him fired to begin with. If he makes this decision again and it backfires once again on him, he's got to go this year, no matter what.
I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Yeah, they're ready to get rid of him there. So, I mean, but then you look at that game, it was mainly that Chicago defense. They came back. I mean, look at this defense. Mm-hmm. They played outstanding here, and that really propelled that team to get where they need to do and really take a hold of this game. And everybody on every single level of this. Roquan Smith had that pick 6. I mean, on every phase here of that, they end up pulling through. And if that defense can hold tight for them until Justin Fields gets a little more acclimated getting that offense together with his skill set, they could turn it around in this division to where now – the Packers even look, vulnerable.
Right.
The Vikings still look vulnerable. And look at the Lions. The Lions, even though they have lost some of these games here,
they're competitive.
At times during the games, they're in it. They're in it. It just happens to be, again, some of the mistakes, turnovers here and there, or the pressure, and then they can't get it done. But they're in it. So the sky's the limit for this team if they can get it done here. But the question is, if Andy Dalton is healthy, do they go back to him or do they just ride with Justin Fields?
If they're smart, no, because either way you're gonna have to make this change, and it's got to happen this year. You want your quarterback. Listen, I would understand if Fields wasn't ready mentally, like he didn't know the offense that well, and that type of deal. Then I could see, okay, maybe you do have to sit him for a year. Maybe he's just not ready yet. But all indications, coming out of Chicago, people are high on this kid. They love him. They love his mentality. They love how smart he is and everything that he can do for them. In the quarterback room, he knows the playbook. I mean, so what's the holdup now? If he can handle it, put him out there, get him some experience this year. Because, Chicago still might not have the best year with Dalton or with Fields, whichever way they go. But at least if you have Fields out there, you're getting the experience ready to get better, even better next year. So that's kind of my stance on it. I think as soon as you made this decision now that Dalton is injured, now I think you just ride the wave. Like, you got to ride the wave with Fields now because it's one thing if he goes out there and he just gets slaughtered. right? If he gets out there and it maybe, okay, now that he knows he's the starter for this week and he kind of gets a little bit maybe overwhelmed and that type of deal, and you see him struggle mightily, okay, fine. Then you have a legitimate reason to maybe put Dalton back in. But if that's not the case, like I expect it to be, I expect him to be successful this week. And if he is, you don't go back to Andy Dalton. It's done. Pass the torch, you're done. Move on. Let Justin Fields carry this team. And you talk about the defense. Biggest problem with the defense last year is injuries.
Yeah,
everybody was injured.
Yeah.
Eddie Jackson was gone. Roquan Smith was gone. Akeem Hicks was gone. Khalil Mack was banged up. He even missed some time. So, I mean, going forward, if Chicago's defense stays healthy, and that's definitely going to help Fields down the stretch, give him more opportunities, Chicago could really do their thing this year, and they could be this surprise in that division.
Absolutely. And so one of the other quarterbacks that came up lame again here, we want to talk about lame. We're talking about Carson Wentz here. Carson Wentz,
This guy.
the injury bug, he's almost like one of those, now you got to think that maybe there's a voodoo doll out there after
Right,
Carson
right.
Wentz. And somebody just keeps poking that pin and there's another injury here and there. Because now even he has 2 sprained ankles here
Can
for
I ask
this
you a
guy.
question? Can I ask you a question? How the hell do you sprain not one but both your ankles?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I that's a huge feat. Like
Huge.
I've never done. I've
that a
played.
pun
listen,
intended on that one?
I used to play basketball, right? And I would sprain my ankles because when I would jump up to get the ball, whatever, on my way down, I would usually step on someone's foot, and there goes my ankle, right? Would roll over. I have never, ever even come close to spraining both ankles. In a game, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got away with it because here, let's take a look at the injuries that he's had throughout his career. We've already got here the concussion here in 2019 playoffs, broken wrist 2015.
Been there.
Yep, yeah, stress fracture in the back 2018, 2016 the rib hairline fracture, torn ACL, LCL in 2017.
Jesus.
The injury he had in the preseason.
Right.
Now then that just to add on
Before
to
the
those,
season,
the 2 sprained ankles there as well. So that's just Carson Wentz in a nutshell.
Can you just-
and this is why everybody's been having questions about him.
Can you just say like, career's done? Like now that's got to be the conversation now. Like the guy's injury prone. Now you can slap the hell of that tag on him and say, well, he was kind of like, okay, getting injured kind of often. Maybe he's injury prone. Now it's like, bro, you got 2 injuries in a matter of like a couple weeks, and now you're going to miss some time. You're injury prone. The Colts as a franchise now, I feel bad for them because they were heavily invested in him to come in, start at quarterback, and kind of help them maybe even compete for this division. But, man, the Colts team overall does not look good. We talked about them. Like, the Colts defense was really good last year. Looks like they're being susceptible this year to offenses. And then the Colts offense not really hitting on all cylinders. So, and now you got the issue with your starting quarterback who most likely is not going to be available to you for several weeks. What do you do? Gardner Minshew has now already been traded. He's an Eagle. He's the backup for the Philadelphia Eagles, so you don't even have that route to go to. Like, who is available? Like, I think if the Colts want to turn this season around, you gotta be able to make a move here. If you want to save the season, because it's only week 2, going into week 3, you gotta do something. Call some teams up, ask about their backups. You can't get Miami's Jacoby Brissett now because he was there last with the Colts. So that would have been a nice addition if they could have pulled that one off. But he's the sole starter. Tua's hurt. Like now, where do you go now? So
well, all you have now is Jacob Eason right now. I mean, until you do go somewhere else. But again, do you go the? Did Blake Bortles get picked up again? I know he had visited with it was on in Green Bay for a little while, and then they dropped him. But he's out there, I guess, if you don't mind tongue biters.
I guess it doesn't matter. Now you just have to bring other veterans in because you can't rely solely on Nick Easton or Sam Ehlinger. Like Sam Ellinger's a rookie. He needs time to develop. We already know that. That's why he went a little bit later in the draft. But neither one is the answer right now, and I think they need to do whatever they can to try to get like a veteran quarterback in there that could kind of handle it and ride the wave out.
Yeah, too many injuries to Carson Wentz, and doesn't look like that anything's going to change for him anytime soon here.
This is, and this is something too. Like, does this spark the conversation in Indianapolis now for Deshaun Watson? I
don't think they have the.
They definitely have the money.
Do they?
Oh yeah, they have the money. They were one of the top
Paul
teams in salary
he says
cap.
here, Cam Newton to the Colts now. They were going to hear that conversation possibly now too.
Here's my thing about Cam. Unless you plan on changing your offense, you don't sign Cam, because Cam Newton needs a certain type of offense to fit his traits, his attributes that he does very well. And we all know what that is. That's running the football. That's RPOs, that type of deal. That's short passing yards, intermediate passing yards. So unless you're going to change your whole offense as the season has already started, I don't think you make that kind of a move. Now, that doesn't mean you can't bring him in, but he may struggle in the current offense that the Colts do run.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, take it as you will. I don't think it's the craziest idea because they are desperate now. So, desperate measures call for desperate times,
especially
and just
when
freaking
you
go for it.
Thought you even had what it takes to compete in this division, but then also make a good deep playoff run. Right. I mean, because that's what you were looking at with this team as well, to do it while strike while the iron's hot.
Right.
And that's why they end up to try and get Carson Wentz, because again, you had Phillip Rivers back last season. On his tail end of his career, then finally retires here. So they were like, oh, maybe Carson Wentz already knows the playbook. That'll be easy. Go right in there.
Yeah.
And if he can stay healthy, we can regenerate what we had back when Frank Reich was over there with Philadelphia. And that's what they were kind of hoping they would get. And unfortunately, you're getting what you have had for the past of the latter years here with Philadelphia with the Carson Wentz. And it could be washed up, like you said now, just too many injuries, too many things like that. He's, again, just trying to make too many plays on his own, too, as well. And that's where some of these injuries end up happening, because he's trying to run for his life, try to make a play, and the ding, boom, boom, bam, down.
Right, and that's the thing is, like, there's not a whole lot of pickings out there for the Colts right now, and it's going to be tough. This season's going to be tough for them now that Wentz once again has been injured. They're going to make a move. I just don't know what it's going to be. I don't think they're going to stick with the young Easton kid or Jacob
Eason, yep.
I just really don't know. I think he's going to struggle not only mightily, but it's just going to be a dismal season for them, and it'll be kind of a wash. So got to make a move somewhere. Geno Smith is in Seattle.
They even talked about early on in the season, too, when that first injury came up for Carson Wentz, that they had talked to maybe Phillip Rivers and maybe considered, coming out of retirement even to go play with him. But I don't know. It's this far now. But he also is a coach of, I think, is one of his son's high school teams. So
yeah, and that's the thing too is, and
he's enjoying it.
But Phillip Rivers has stated like he doesn't want to come back now. Like he wants to come back. Like if someone loses a quarterback down the stretch, maybe going into the playoffs type of deal, or has a shot at the playoffs, then he'll come back. But he doesn't want to go through this long stretch of games and kind of beat himself up, as they get down to the end. But it's a possibility. Can't really throw it out there. Maybe he changes his mind and will come back for the Colts. But something's got to be done. That's all we know.
Absolutely. And one of the other injuries that came up here from the Miami Dolphins here was Tua Tagovailoa. And, again, he went down early. Now it comes out that he has, a fractured rib or
fractured ribs.
Yeah, ribs. And he went down. It looked like it hurt. And
he was in pain, a lot of pain.
Out, for most of the game, majority of the game. And they weren't able to do anything against the Bills. It was just brutal. Jacoby Brissett looked rusty as hell.
He looked bad.
Just really bad. I mean, he looked even a little out of shape,
That's what I was just going to say, too, because even when, he used to be kind of a little bit mobile. Not the most mobile quarterback, but he used to get out of trouble and could get, maybe 5 yards on you or whatever. But now he just looks, not only does he look rusty, like you said, but he just looks out of shape. He looks lethargic. You know what I mean? Like, even his throws were kind of weak. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the thing too. It was behind the throws. Yeah,
it didn't really look good, and I can understand. Like, you could make the argument, like, okay, yeah, but he didn't practice with the starters, and he's got to go through his thing. Yes, but he didn't look good, as a quarterback. Like the way his movement was, like even like his decision making, like trying to just do whatever he could. But man, if that's any indication how Miami's season is going to go, it's not going to be very good.
That is one big pile of shit.
Yeah, it could be. It could be for them again, and not to even put anything up against your rival here, the Bills, a team that you're trying to compete and contend with to take the division, and not even show up after that. It was pretty disappointing for them. But Tua, what do they do after this now? Because you saw even how Jacoby Brissett played. Will they be able to work with them this week and get something else out of them? You're already hearing the rumors about, and of course, the rumor mill's going to go. The media is going to be like, all right, well, we heard about maybe they're talking about getting Deshaun Watson. What's going to take now? What's going to do? What are they going to do? There's also Cam Newton out there, so you're hearing all that talk again. So do they possibly make a move here? Or they ride it out with, Jacoby Brissett? I mean, it's one of those teams, again, that you had all these draft picks and were looking to go forward and one of those teams to compete, and now the rib injury, and they said I think it was like a couple weeks, so hopefully Jacoby Brissett can get it together enough to just stop the bleeding a little bit and get this team competitive. But looking at that last week, it did not look very good, especially to a Buffalo team that the week, I mean, they had the Steelers game, but then they just I think got a little too reserved and allowed the Steelers to come back and win that game. But this time they were there and they were sharp. And Josh Allen was right on point with his throws. Not like the first week. He was kind of a little errant in some of the throws, a little off pace, a little overthrowing. I think maybe it was a little too amped up or something. But it was just the accuracy wasn't there. They played a lot better. But the Miami Dolphins have some questions to be answered here for the quarterback situation.
Yeah, definitely. And this is going to be a little bit of a problem. As we what else we've noticed is the offensive line for the Dolphins hasn't been really gelling that well, leading to a lot of quarterback hits, a lot of sacks. You know what I mean? And that's where Tua ends up going down this past week. Buffalo Bills, man, they were turning up the heat and they were coming after Tua with no regards to any kind of thing that Tua could do against them. Listen, no fear at all. They just came after him, and they kind of got the better of them right from the jump. Miami Dolphins now going down the stretch, I don't really know. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, the way he looked last week, I don't have a ton of confidence in this Dolphins team right now. I mean, they're kind of in flux with Tua being injured, and the whole talk about maybe trading for Deshaun Watson. Heck, maybe it was the Dolphins that offered 3 number ones for Deshaun Watson, a couple weeks ago, where we got that report where and the Texans turned it down. So if that's the case, then Miami's out. Like, listen, now they don't even have a trade asset. Like, they could have said, we'll trade you Tua and 3 first-rounders. That way you get a quarterback and plenty of incentives to make that deal. So now that Tua's hurt, and the fact that he keeps kind of getting hurt once in a while, how long can Tua last now? Like, that was kind of brought into question coming out of college. And now that he's getting hurt yet again, I don't know. Tua, for him to be successful, he just got to stay healthy for one. And until that happens, I think that's where he's going to struggle.
Yeah, so that brings us to another team. If you want to talk about the Deshaun Watson mystery and things as well, we got Tyrod Taylor, who ends up going down too with an injury here for the Texans, who were playing tough in that game, and they almost pulled that victory even after Davis Mills was in the game. So that's the thing is when you have Deshaun Watson there, just not even being able to show up and just not even a thought about potentially playing for this team, and where you have to march out Davis Mills right out there to take over for you. It's tough for this team, especially when they've kind of been such a bit of a surprise, I think, for me this first 2 weeks. And if you had Deshaun Watson in there, this team could maybe compete with some of those other guys out there in this division, the way this division's kind of being laid out there. But again, you've got the court case, you've got all kinds of other things. What's going to happen? Where's the exemplary list there for the NFL? He's not on that list, even so. I mean, so he still should be active to be able to play still, right? I mean,
he's not going to play for them though.
Oh, I know, but that's the sad thing. So what? It's almost stuck there. So what do you do?
And that's
if
the
you're
funny
not going
thing.
to trade him and you're not going to play him, and he's not on the exemplary list, then you should be able to trade him. So what are you going to do?
Trade him. That's what that smart thing would do. But Houston's not very smart. They're not an organization that does always the right things, as we all know very well. But here's the thing with Deshaun Watson's situation. That's in flux. Like, good luck getting a trade partner. And there was a team that was offering 3 first round. We don't know exactly who it was, but they offered it, and the Texans turned it down right now. Like, even with him in court, like, they just wanted the rights to him, and they turned it down. Think that was a bad move on Houston's part, because what happens if the court proceedings continue, they come to a verdict, he's guilty. Good luck getting that trade value anymore. Because now that he's guilty, now the NFL is going to come down with a big time suspension. You would assume he's going. You know what I mean? And then what do you do? Because now you're not, instead of those 3 first rounders that you once probably could have gotten fairly easily. Now it's like, oh well, now he's been convicted of this. We're taking a risk. You know, teams that want him, they're going to say, we're going to take a risk. We'll give you 2 number ones and a quarterback, or 2 number ones and a couple of lower picks. You know what I mean? To make this deal go through. They're not going to get this blockbuster mega deal like they were hoping. You know, I don't know what Houston was thinking with this whole situation. But now you got Tyrod Taylor going down with an injury. He's going to miss several weeks. And now their starting quarterback is a rookie. They had no first or second round pick in this past draft, so they were hoping to get like a halfway decent quarterback, and they might have gotten one. But a guy coming out of college who's very heavily injured is the issue. Is why Davis Mills was available in the 3rd round for the Texans. They took a risk. They grab him. Not to say that he can't become a starter, but in college, he was so injured, it was almost like he was never on the football field. So I don't know how he's going to be able to last in the NFL, but hopefully he does, and maybe he turns out, halfway decent for the Texans, but that remains to be seen. You got a rookie coming in who clearly didn't win the starting job. Tyrod Taylor was way better than he was, and now you're feeding him to the wolves. He is not ready to take the torch, take the football, whatever you want to call it, and lead this team. So he's going to have to do his very best that he can. Texans are going to have to try to keep him sheltered in a sense and try not to ask too much of him. Run the ball a little bit more, throw the football short, like high percentage throws, and hopefully
probably
they can
rely on a little bit of that running game that they got going on with the mix of running backs that they have, I guess. But it's kind of funny because going into this game, they're 8th in offense. Can you believe that? Points for.
Yeah.
Can you believe that they are that up there in the rankings?
No, I can't. But
it's pretty surprising, and they ended up, and it's sad because you remember with Tyrod Taylor ended up getting the punctured lung back with the Chargers, and that ended his spot for them because again Justin Herbert comes in, and they were hoping to get the guy that they had that he was back in Buffalo when he was not producing turnovers, pretty consistent, making the smart throws, and it seemed like that's what Houston was getting now, and it was an exciting time for them and Tyrod Taylor, and just to see this happen to him again, it's kind of sad for that, but hopefully he can bounce back from this quick and have a speedy recovery, and that's all they can look for. And in the meantime, Davis Mills gets some real NFL experience here, flat out, because it's going to be rough there for the Texans, seeing as they're not going to budge on the Deshaun Watson thing. And like you said, if they already said no on 3 first-rounders, and what else are you going to get? You're not getting anything better than that. So people are even just going to probably stop calling and be like, you're not going to do it then. It's not worth it to us. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens there with the Texans. But let's move on to now. He's not out, but imagine this if he ends up going out, and it's Ben Roethlisberger who's injured a lot too. I mean, we've been on the pro injury, I think, projector.com or something like that. I mean, and he's like up there with so many injuries, almost right there with Carson Wentz as well. Predicting how much he might be injured, and he's got a hurt boobie right now, Joe. So I mean, injured pectoral. So I mean, he hasn't been out for the game. But imagine if he's not, where the team has been playing pretty decent again. But now you've gone back to that spot to where you don't have a successor, and he's decided to stay back into the league again. And now you're settling with Mason Rudolph right there back again. Or it's going to be Dwayne Haskins. But right now we know that it's going to be probably Mason Rudolph. And we've been there, done that. We've seen him. We've seen his experience.
You know what he is.
When you had Duck Hodges out there as well. And, the fight and everything with him and Myles Garrett and all that other nonsense. You knew that he just wasn't the one. So, I mean, this could be rough for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they have to march out Mason Rudolph here and compete when, again, this division's kind of tough here, and we're not sure what we're going to be getting out of these guys.
Yeah, very physical division. Each team is going to look to beat each other up. And already in week 2, Big Ben is already injured. Mm-hmm. So, and this is a guy that was contemplating retirement 2 years ago, possibly not playing 2 years ago. Then he came back. And then this offseason, he was contemplating retirement again. And then he redoes his contract. And, okay, I'll play another year or two or whatever. If you have these thoughts, these ideas of possibly leaving the game because of what's happening right now, he was heavily injured. He was getting beat up as he gets older. Yet again, injured, and now he may or may not play this week. And if that happens, that's a huge blow to the Steelers' offense. So we already know what Rudolph is, not very good, kind of like a below-average quarterback, and not the right guy for the Steelers going forward. So Big Ben, if he's out, the Steelers are going to struggle. You know what I mean? And teams that are in their division are going to pounce on this opportunity. You know what I mean? And we don't know. Right now, it sounds like he's kind of questionable for this week. But if he's listed as out and they get a loss from it, you know, another loss, and then he comes back and then he gets hurt again later, you know, I mean, this could really hurt the Steelers going forward and trying to push for the playoffs. And I don't know if they have a different route that they could possibly go with, you know, to replace Big Ben going down.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's something to look forward to this next week. We'll see. Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight. Mike Tackett's in the house. I just saw that bouncing up over there.
What's going on, Mike?
Yeah, it's good to have you guys on again.
Welcome to the show,
says,
bro.
See you guys back on. We are back on. Yeah, I know. We've been on, but I mean, it's been really crazy here. We remodeled a little bit. We're changing stuff around. There's still going to be more going on. Really busy, but Mike, it's a pleasure you joining with us tonight. Meet Paul here, that's with us too. He's in Florida as well. Mike's over there in Florida. He says Cam Newton is knocking on Rooney's door right now. Yeah, there he is. He's like, let me in. Come on, man. Where is is he gonna be able to play with that? You know, who knows? He might fit in with like Mike Tomlin, stuff like that. But there he is. He's at the doorbell. He's right there, and it's not Richard Sherman banging through the door, you know. Like
no,
that,
he's not breaking the door.
He's like, here you go.
Yeah, right.
Can I come in here? And we'll see. But I mean, if you look at that quarterback room with Dwayne Haskins, what's wrong with that? I mean, that's not working out for them too. I mean, they grabbed him, and it was a win-win for them to grab him on the cheap.
Right.
But I guess maybe he's just not grasping the playbook or what.
I mean you don't know what these situations. It could be just that. It could be that the offensive coordinator that's in place doesn't like certain things that he does in the offense. You know what I mean? So don't really know. And until you get an opportunity, you're never going to really know what he can do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like we go back and forth with Rudolph. We already know what he is.
Yeah.
Give Haskins a shot and see what he can do.
Yeah. And the thing is with Cam Newton, that thing. Imagine Cam Newton and Big Ben in the same room together. And
yes.
Like that, those two personalities. That'd
be amazing.
That'd be pretty exciting. But you know what I'm really excited about is my friends here at Mohawk Honda here on Freeman Bridge Road in Scotia Glenville. I drive by this all the time. This place that they have the inventory you wouldn't believe out there. With the current supply and demand challenges, within the auto industry, it makes it a perfect time now for you to go and get top dollar for your vehicle. And right now, Mohawk Honda, you can take advantage of the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. Imagine that, the KBB ICO. That's right. They will put cash in your hand for your vehicle the same day that you come in. Even if you don't buy from them. That's it. You go trade in. They'll give you the cash just that day. You don't need to buy none of that crazy stuff. They're not all over you. That's a pretty sweet deal, especially for all you guys that are just reaching recent college grads or students that need a new ride out there or some extra cash. Go to Mohawk Honda here. They've consistently kept their lot fully stocked with hundreds of pre-owned vehicles. Their large inventory makes shopping fun as you browse through the many makes and models to choose from. You can also check out their full selection online. Stop in, say hi to Greg Johnson, the assistant general manager, Jake Hot Sauce Doyle, Louis, the VIP man Morales, or one of the many helpful sales consultants at Mohawk Honda. There's a vast selection of Honda certified pre-owns as well. So come on down to Mohawk Honda and take advantage of the Kelly Blue Book Instant Cash offer. That's right, instant cash, whatever the Kelly Blue Book says right there, boom, it's in your hand. Mohawk Honda, Scotia Glenville, where they go out of their way to please you. That's right. Joe, we're bringing back another segment, too, that we did a few years ago. Mike Tackett probably remembers some of this segment.
He might. He's one of the originals.
It's been a while. He's an OG. But we've got your decapitation of the week, Joe.
That's right, baby. Let's go.
Right. And we have video footage to back it up this time. That's right. So, all right, Joe, let's get into your decapitation of the week. Here it is.
First of all, I apologize to anyone on a podcast who won't be able to see this. But
no, that's true.
Nonetheless, decapitation of the week. This week, I selected the special teams. For the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, the guy just came flying down. And the most incredible thing is if you saw this like 100% full go, the receiver was running with the ball 100%. This guy comes flying out of a hole 110% and just flat out drives him into the ground. I mean, absolutely annihilates him. I was actually surprised at how he got up after that.
Yeah.
It was a crazy hit, and there was plenty more crazy hits this past week, too. You know, I think about off the top of my head, there was one in the Steelers-Raiders game. The Raiders safety Andy Levitt came across the middle and just knocked the ball loose from Chase Claypool, separating him from the football, and what a crazy hit that was. There was also another great hit in the Tampa Bay game from James Dean, the corner, came and lit up the running back. So a lot of great hits this past week. A lot more that are going to be coming in week 3. I can't wait to get to see them. But also want to let you know is all the hits that we are going to be showing you down the stretch in this season are brought to you by Ding Productions on YouTube. Our one of our favorite YouTube guys, like he does a phenomenal job of cutting up all these hits, slapping them all together, and being able to show you guys multiple hits on his video. So make sure you go ahead and check him out. Subscribe to him. It's called Ding Productions. Subscribe to him. Get the notifications whenever he posts. And pretty cool channel if you want to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Decapitation of the week.
That's how you take down a motherfucker. That's right.
That's right. You'll see it every week here. Joe brings you the best. All right, so that's going to bring on our next segment that we wanted to talk about. It was announced this particular afternoon.
That's right, Hall of Fame, baby.
The Hall of Fame to 122 nominees that they're going to narrow it down to.
It's crazy.
But they now had brought up the list. There's 10 modern era players that are up for the Hall of Fame.
Right.
This is going to be their first inaugural year. So we wanted to take a look at those 10 players and ask you guys out there and take a look at it and maybe decide whether we think they might be able to go in this year, first ballot, or maybe just along in the later rounds or, the next couple of years, or if they're worthy of the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Or if they're not. If we look at it like, gee, I don't really see it. So let's get to it first. We got Anquan Bolden here. We've seen him started out his career with the Cardinals, went to the Super Bowl, couldn't get it done. Kurt Warner throws the pick six that goes from east to west all the way back to the other end zone. And Baltimore Ravens, was able to get a championship, and the 49ers there as well playing for them. Then he ended up finishing off. I forget who else with the Bills. I think he played with the Bills and then another team. So
he played with the Bills for like a hot second.
Yeah.
And then decided to retire.
That's when he retired. Yeah. And then he ended up being, wanted to do more activism for civil rights and things like that. Good for him on that. But Anquan Bolden, here you go. He's up for his first year. What do you guys think about Anquan Bolden out there, Joe? What do you think? Pretty outstanding career.
I mean, pretty outstanding career. And here's the thing: this is what I'm going to compare it to. So he has over 13,000 receiving yards. And if you're going to look at the Hall of Fame list of the guys that are already in the Hall of Fame, he's in the same crowd with like Torrey Holt, Chris Carter. He's right below Chris Carter in yards. James Lofton, Andre Johnson is above him. So he's in really good company along there. Andre Reed, he's above in terms of passing yards. And then if you go to okay, well that's great for receiving yards. But what about touchdowns? Because everybody loves scoring, right? So he has about 82 touchdowns. And that's going to put him aligned with Reggie Wayne. He's tied, actually, with Reggie Wayne with 82. Calvin Johnson has 83. You know what I mean? So just by naming a few of those names in a couple of those stats, my money's on Hall of Fame. I mean, he's in great company there. So I'm down with having him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Anquan Bolden. I remember him playing for the Cardinals, and again, was a good point, I think, for that Baltimore team. And it's kind of, I think he's had one of those sneaky careers. I think some of the younger crowd really doesn't appreciate what Anquan Bolden has done for this league as well, and it's kind of almost lived in the shadow of some of those guys like Larry Fitzgerald and others that he's played on teams with. But really, one of those physical guys as well that's really can get out those tough yards out of you. It wasn't going to burn you all the way down deep. He was getting those chunk yards out of it, and
he would drag you down the field.
Very physical player. And so for me, I mean, yeah, I think the numbers there too as well. Again, I'm kind of shadowed about him not really being a number one ever for a team, I think. But I mean,
that's not his body type,
right?
You got to remember too.
The numbers are there. He's there. I don't think he goes in this year. I tell you the truth, I don't think he's going to go in this year. But I think probably next year or a year after. But I think he's going to be considered again, near almost like the way Torrey Holt was, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this year with all the wide receivers that could possibly go in. Like Reggie Wayne is up for ballot, so Anquan Bolden and him are kind of like close to each other. Andre Johnson is ahead of them. You have Torrey Holt. You know, we talked about him. Like, so you see a lot of the same kind of guys. Hines Ward is also a big name out there. Andre Rison, I don't think he's really worth it, but you know, guys like that are all going to be talked about in a room. And where they're going to have to vote somebody to go in at that receiver position. But it's going to be an interesting – I would love to be a fly on the wall on that one. Like, just to hear what they would have to say about each of these players and the reason why or why not they should be in this year.
We got to – you know what? By the way, everybody out there, we ended up getting credentials with the NFL, so we're going to be able to do a lot of interesting stuff with the NFL this upcoming year and stuff moving forward, by the way. Maybe we can try and get a room at the hotel where they end up having those guys visit, and they give them the envelopes. We intercept some of them, and we can be like, I want to deliver it. I'm like, here you go. Hey, they're like, oh, this is it. And they're like, who the hell are you? Mr. Bolden, I'm really excited. Here, there you go. That'd be fun. But yeah, look for stuff like that moving forward with us. But yeah, you talked about this guy too as well, and we've got Andre Johnson here who played for the Texans, and unfortunately, that's the problem with his career too. I mean, despite he had all these great numbers too, that's amazing. Yeah. That's what's amazing about his career. I mean, you had David Carr there too, was kind of just getting beat to death over there. I'm surprised he's not a vegetable right now. That franchise started out with an Andre Johnson, and he did nothing but produce for these guys. And that is, again, with just terrible quarterbacks from year to year to year. I mean, just sort of like what it seemed like DeAndre Hopkins was going to be stuck in that whole thing for his whole career as well, much like Andre Johnson was getting. It wasn't until I think some parts where I think what was the quarterback they ended up having? Matt
Schaub.
Matt Schaub. They did have a few years there where Schaub played pretty well for them, and it looked like they were going to step up. But again, it just never really happened for him. But Andre Johnson, nothing but love for him. He puts out the numbers. He reminds me of much like, not the way they play, but with his situation, a lot like Megatron and Calvin Johnson. Stuck on a bad team, but producing all the way, and it isn't just because, that's the only guy. Let's just hand it to him every time or whatever. Let's just go. He had it all. He can get it done. Andre Johnson, I think for me, again, it could be this first ballot again, but when you look at some of those other guys out there, I mean, I would put him in this year, but, I mean, there's a lot of other competition out there as well for him.
Yeah, so here's the thing about Andre Johnson is, in terms of, you would think that he had a ton of touchdowns because he was such a big athlete, a gifted receiver, and he was just hard to defend. But he only had 70 touchdowns, which was kind of surprising to me. And then other than that, like in terms of receiving yards, he only had 1,000 more than Anquan Bolden at 14. So
do you know how long his career was compared to Anquan Bolden's? Or
well, all I can tell you is how many games he played is 193. So as far as Anquan Bolden, I'd have to look back.
He played 14 years.
So he played 14 years. Anquan Bolden played 14 years? Or Andre?
Yeah, 14 years.
And then Andre played what?
Can you look that up? I can look it up. But Do
14 years is a long time.
Isn't it? I mean, that's why I even looked at it. I'm like counting it up, and I'm like, holy crap. I guess it was. But again, towards those other ones end up being further on. Paul says Wilbur Marshall should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, yeah, it could be too. Yeah, I mean, I remembered him as a player too as well. I mean, that was one of those guys I was out there and just respected. Absolutely. You know, when I seen him play, I was just kind of like, man, I mean, you know, he didn't play for my team, but you know what? You got to give that man his due, you know, and that's what it is with some of these other players. And when you talk about the Hall of Fame, that's what you really got to do. You got to open up yourself and be like, man, I'm like, you know, I don't like that guy. So you can't be like, oh, you know, he sucks. You know, he's not going in, you know, as much as like, you know, I dislike the way kind of Tom Brady had played or this and that, but he's going in, he's walking in. That's easy, you know, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, you know,
right.
But some of these other guys, it's not so sure. So if you look at here, he has 14 years as well. He went 12 with Houston, 1 with Indy, and 1 with Tennessee. And some of those other years, again, those are wash years. You kind of forget about that he was even over there, you know, Indianapolis and with Tennessee. So Andre Johnson, 14 years as well. How many more? 1,000 yards rushing more or receiving more, rather?
Yeah, 1,000 yards receiving.
Not as many touchdowns, but I understand that as well. But also when you think about those Texans teams, for a time there, they also had Arian Foster, who was like playing pretty well for them at running back too. And those teams weren't very good, so scoring opportunities I don't think came out very often for them.
I mean, it was a pretty bad team.
Yeah.
So I mean,
a franchise, you know, I mean, even with certain teams.
I'm just going to say,
franchise.
I'm not going to say whether they're deserving of this year or next year. I think that they both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. They definitely have the numbers to be in the Hall of Fame. Listen, it's hard enough to try. I don't know how these guys decipher who gets in every year or not, because when you have players like this, like a Johnson or a Bolden, who are pretty close together in terms of stats. And they're also in terms of like where they sit against the all-time greats. They're right up there in a great crowded room. So they both are deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if they'll be in this year, but they are deserving for sure.
All right, Mike Tackett posted his decapitation of the week, Joe.
Excellent.
All right, I'm gonna watch it right now. I think I've seen this video already though. It says something about, I don't know, my daughter or something. I got to see this video here. But Andre Johnson, again, I think he definitely is worthy of going in. Who else do we got here? Let me try moving on. I want to watch this video, but we can watch it later. We'll do the show. But Mike, definitely, if you guys want to check out that link, he put it right there in the chat. Everybody on Spotify and Apple and all those other podcasts that you guys listen to us, we really appreciate you guys listening to us. If you are missing out on some of these videos and stuff that we're doing here, come on over to our group, to Facebook group, Football on the No Show, and on YouTube, Football on the No Show as well, so you can see us out in person. You can catch us on our live show, but we definitely appreciate you subscribing and listening to us on your podcast as well. So let's get to it. One of the other ones, I think this is an interesting point here, is Devin Hester. Now, take a look at Devin Hester. Not a great wide receiver. He kind of converted to wide receiver in a sense for a little bit, because I think the Bears were just so much struggling on offense that they just were like, all right, well, maybe we can just make him a wide receiver, make it done, because of the explosiveness that he had
fast.
and stuff. Yeah, so
fast.
quick and stuff like that. But known as a special teams guy, straight up. And this is where the debate, I think, has been for the Hall of Fame. Is there a place for these guys? Because there's a place for kickers out there, which are basically special teams, and they're your team's leading scorers most of the time in their particular franchise. So Devin Hester, where does he fit? Do you bring him in there just as a sole kick returner? For me, I would have to say yeah, because you know what? You play positions. There isn't that position. If you didn't, I wouldn't say there's more important positions throughout the field, but you're assigned to that position for a reason. You have a job to do, and his job was to return the kicks, and he did it very well. And he should be commended for that. And he was, at his time, the best of the best. There was nobody that could stop him. So I think Devin Hester, again, you're going to probably see pushback. I don't see all of a sudden you're like, special teams guy, that's it. First ballot Hall of Famer, he's in. You know, but I say in a couple of years, they're going to take a look at it again, let him wait a little bit and say, let's bring this fella in here. You know, he was at the best of his ability right there and the best of the best when he was playing at that particular position. You see it with baseball all the time with closers. Closers play 1 to 2 innings, and that's all they need to be good for. I mean, you don't see them playing like a whole full, game, and you see closers get put into the Hall of Fame. So Mike Tackett says, if punters and kickers get in the Hall, so should returners. Eric Metcalf, Devin Hester, Steve Tasker, Josh Cribbs, Dante Hall. Absolutely, Dante Hall. If you guys don't know, watch the replays too. Again, on all these guys, Eric Metcalf too as well, Steve Tasker, Josh Cribbs, even for a time back when he was with Cleveland. Outstanding return guys. I think these guys definitely deserve their spot in the Hall of Fame. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, so I was taking a look at like what he had for receiving yards, punt return yards, and kick return yards, and if you combine both of them, it's about 11,000 yards. As far as his receiving, he had only 650 some odd yards for his career.
Yeah.
So you could just imagine, that was his career. He only had 600 yards, didn't even have 1,000, and that was his career. So receiver was not his forte.
No.
Although I was kind of surprised that how team like the Bears and so forth didn't utilize him more in the slot. And have him as a receiver because he was so explosive, he was so quick, he was so fast. I mean, he was ahead of his time in terms of speed. So it was pretty amazing when you got to see him with the ball in his hands, how difficult he was to even catch.
Right, and I think if you see players of that era and that time, and you hear them talk about it, even some of these other older players were like, man, if I played now, oh my goodness, because you see him in like a Sean McVay type of offense or something like that, and it could be pretty dangerous here for that team, if he was there and they're doing, all kinds of screens with him and pitches and stuff like that. So jet sweeps, I mean, that would be exciting, and he would be, doing well right now in the NFL.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is and then even if you compared, so you could even take it as this. So about 11,000 receiving yards he had. You can take that and say, okay, well that counts receiving yards. It's return yards. So when you do that and you look at the best all time in terms of receiving yards, he's in the same kind of line with Michael Irvin, Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson, who's already in the Hall. You know what I mean? He's got some good company there.
Combined all-purpose yards, you're saying?
That's everything. Yeah, it's combined.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where he kind of lines up. Now, me and Jim have talked about this before too, is shouldn't there be some kind of a threshold for the Hall of Fame, like a certain requirement, a certain number between different stats for each position that you should reach or should eclipse in order to be considered for the Hall of Fame? And what number would that be, for a receiver? You know what I mean? As you're looking at, if you were able to look at this Hall of Fame list, the most receiving yards is none other than Jerry Rice with 22,000 receiving yards. That's the cream of the crop, right? Guess who's right below him? Larry Fitzgerald, soon to be Hall of Famer, 17,000. Terrell Owens is third in yards. So that's a few to mention, and then you got Randy Moss. But if you go down, how far down do you say, okay, well, receiving yards and, not having that many catches and that the other thing, where should be the deadline? You know what I mean? Is it 11,000? Is it 10,000? You know what I mean? When you got guys like Roddy White, Joey Galloway with 10,000, should that be the cutoff point? You know what I mean? For me, there should be some kind of standard that you have to meet in order to be considered great or all-time best.
Yeah, I think even right there, 10,000, that's probably about right. Because if you're talking Roddy White and Joey Galloway, they were good,
but they weren't
not Hall
phenomenal.
of Famers. So, I mean, that could be your cutoff, and then it's up for discussion. Yeah,
because right above
somewhere around 11,000 somewhere.
Right,
yeah.
almost right at 11,000. 11,059 yards is Chad Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's even right there. I think that is a good threshold right there. Mike Tackett says, how about picking players based off of their stats and not names? Urlacher and Ray Lewis both got in way before Zach Thomas, and it's criminal, he says. I think some of that, too, well with some of them. But
what I will say is at least they got in. It didn't matter what time he got in. He got in.
Yeah.
They
I
can't
know
always get it
Urlacher-
right.
Urlacher, people had a lot of problems with that.
I know,
Urlacher going in
but
there
listen,
as well.
but a lot of the writers that do vote these players in,
Mm-hmm.
and whoever else is included, they all have hidden agendas too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they might have talked to Ray Lewis, and they loved the fact that he was very religious and he would treated you like a family member type of deal, and that kind of resonated with them. And then when it came to voting, they were like, "Oh, I love Ray Lewis. Let's vote him in." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I think they also taken the fact impact on team. When they bring up MVP conversation all the time. Well, this guy, he's more detrimental, and they need him more because he brings the energy. He's great with the locker room. Blah blah blah. Not just even stats that he's doing or whatever. Like if this team lost this guy,
Right.
they would be stuck with him.
True.
Without
Yeah.
him altogether. And I think that's why when they look at Ray Lewis again, they're like motivational speaker again, getting his team amped up. Towards the end, when he did get that last Super Bowl win, was on his downturn. We all knew this, and his career could have went anywhere after that whole criminal case and stuff like that. He could have not even had a career.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
He ended up being able to play, and again for a time was one of the most elite linebackers out there. Same thing with Urlacher, but this again stuck on that Bears team, couldn't exactly get it done. Had that one shot where you had Rex Grossman as your quarterback, just got in there, happened to string up some games and couldn't get it done. He had Devin Hester, which was your team too as well. So I mean, that was tough. That Bears team there that year that they went to the Super Bowl reminds me a lot of the Giants team when they went with Kerry Collins against the Baltimore Ravens. Very similar to where they played hot enough to make it through the playoffs, and when they got there, they're like, oh shit. Like now we've got to play the Baltimore Ravens or this. So now when the Bears get there, they're like, oh, we're in here. Yeah, anybody can do this. And then there's Peyton Manning and the Colts on the other side.
Right.
And you're like, I don't think we can do this, But it looked pretty good, like in the beginning, beginning kickoff with Hester and everything too. So I mean, started off kicking and it looked like it was going to be good. Not enough to get it done, but I agree with Mike Tackett saying here though on a certain level though too. Again, I think certain teams that are kind of looked upon. I think they brought it up. I think even with some of the Raiders at one point with some of these considerations back when they were really relevant in the older days. They were going in, but it's been a while since a guy had been in there since Brown. Had gone in. So.
But I'll say this, that there's been a lot, and I mean a lot of players that probably deserve to be in before others.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, they were never voted in until like they pass away or something, or it's like, come on, guys. Like I do agree partially with you, Mike, on stats. Like, yes, stats is a part of the game, but also the other part of it is like the player element of being on a team, and maybe you were a rah-rah guy. Maybe you're a guy that's an X's and O's guy to help your team get better. You know what I mean? You're an emotional type of player that you get everybody hyped up and they play better. And you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different avenues you can make an argument for what is deserving of a Hall of Fame status type of player versus, it can't always all just be about stats. We've seen this season in and season out with players. You know what I mean? Like, everybody is raving about, big-time players like Patrick Mahomes and everything like that. But no one really criticizes Mahomes when he screws up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's got to go both ways. So don't get me wrong. I think Mahomes is a great quarterback. But there are times when these great quarterbacks or great players, great receivers, they screw up too. And if you're not willing to criticize them for their mistakes, then you're really not holding everybody accountable, and isn't that the bottom line in the end? So it's like, for the Hall of Fame, I feel like it's a combination of everything, right? It's got to be a combination of stats. How great of a player were they stat wise? How great of a player were they, with their team? Did they make their team even better? Because that's another thing too. Like you bring it, like you talk about Ray Lewis. Mm-hmm. Ray Lewis, as great as that defense was, I feel like if you didn't have Ray Lewis in that Ravens defense, yeah, they had great players around him, but if you removed Ray Lewis, that's like removing their soul on that defense. That would have been a little bit different. You know what I mean? Then maybe the Ravens get picked apart over the middle type of thing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different arguments that you could pose where
because
what's
you
deserving.
look at Terrell Suggs, and I mean that defense was still pretty decent without him, and when Suggs was even still there. But I know what you're saying. Ray Lewis, there he is. Even we have the All-Star, whatever these things are. Again, of them the figures, and you notice it. Just so you want to talk about the man is bigger than the player. He showed up again. There was Ray Lewis there honoring him that last game against the Chiefs, and you saw that Patrick Mahomes was even in awe that Ray Lewis was there. Everybody was excited when Ray Lewis came out with the whole squirrel dance and everything else and stuff, and he has that kind of impact. So
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a valid point. Like I said,
It is a good point.
Stats, yes, but then
Yeah.
also you got to think of era and everything else and how it's going. So a lot to take in.
But no, I mean we do agree with you, but there's
Yeah.
also like another added elements to picking these all-time greats.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting finishing up, I think, with the wide receivers here. We got Steve Smith Sr. here. Steve Smith,
Stevie.
better player than he is analyst. I think he really sucks
Holy
here on NFL
crap.
Network. I mean,
Are
he's
you kidding
stumbling
me?
and fumbling on his words, and can't even make a coherent point. And then when you say something about it, he agrees with you. He was like, yeah. I never said that. Oh, okay. All right. Anyways,
All right.
but Steve Smith, again, he was a dominant player in his
Very
position
dominant
for the Carolina Panthers when he played for them early on in his career. Ended up being a whole staple for them. I thought he was going to be a Carolina Panther forever, but then again felt slighted by Dave Gettleman, my GM now that I have for the Giants, and ended up going to Baltimore for a few years. But then again, by that time, he was already in his twilight years. He had 16 seasons here for the NFL, but also 14,731 yards overall here receiving, 81 touchdowns. So catching percentage of 59% overall for his career.
Over 1,000 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, I mean, if you're now, so here's the thing though, too. This is like a fun thing here is you got Andre Johnson, right, with like 14,100 and change in terms of receiving yards, only 70 touchdown catches. He does have just over 1,000 receptions. Then you got a guy like Anquan Bolden who is kind of in the same boat. He's got over 1,000. 13,779 yards receiving and 82 touchdowns. And then you got Steve Smith, who he has about the same in terms of receptions, but more receiving yards, but only 81 touchdowns too. So it's like all these guys are Hall of Fame worthy in my mind. However, it's just a matter of like who's going to get in first type of deal at this point. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I think Steve Smith, out of all these receivers so far that we've seen, like I haven't even looked at like the rest of the nominees, but so far to me, Steve Smith is the most deserving. And it's like it's like picking a straw out of a hat type of thing. Like, but the only thing that I would give Steve Smith the lead for is because also if you think about his stature and how big he played. Like, he was a shorter receiver, but he played like he was 6'5", and against some stiff competition. And for him to do what he did, that to me makes it more impressive. So, I mean, to have more receiving yards, about the same in touchdowns and in receptions, I give the nod to Steve for if you're comparing these three.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mike Tackett is in the house with us tonight. He says, I want to read you guys some players' career stats. Yes or no to Canton. Here we go.
What position?
900 it seems like defensive back.
Corner?
I think so. Something like that. Yeah, corner or something like that. But he says 949 tackles, 63 INTs, 1,412 interception return yards, 13 defensive TDs, Super Bowl champ safety. He says, let's
So
see,
I just want to be clear. The tackles are combined tackles, solo tackles.
it's probably going to be combined, probably overall. I think they just do solo tackles. I ain't going to try to guess who it is, but
I know who it is.
Who is it?
Darren Sharper.
Darren Sharper? Total tackles right here. All right, so what do you think? Again, I like the interception yards. That's really positive for him.
To me, I mean, interception yards.
740 solo. All right, I'm gonna say 63 INTs.
I mean, because I'm trying to like basically look at like kind of match it up with some of the guys, some of the all-time greats.
Yeah, you
to
have
see
the stuff right there in front of you.
if it's worth it. I mean, he's got good numbers. Don't get me wrong. I mean, what do you got?
740 solo,
949 combined tackles, 63 interceptions. That's usually a big stat for guys in the secondary. It was 63, so that's one of the best. He's right up there in the top 10 with that one. He's like right behind Ronnie Lott, ahead of Dick LeBeau. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in terms of interceptions. To me, Mike, I'm going to be completely honest with you. To me, Super Bowl championship does not matter. I throw that right out the boat because there's been all too often there's been great players that don't get chips that are just great players, but they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Just because he didn't win the chip doesn't mean anything. That's a team.
Paul's
stat.
in the house. He says Julius Peppers for the Hall of Fame.
Now we're going off the rails. We're going off the rails.
Oh boy. But I don't know. I'd say it's worthy to go to the Hall of Fame. I'd say that's fine right there. I mean, again, you're in the top 7 of all
Let's see something
of
here.
some of the others that are there already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I'd say right there, that's a nod. But I'm not, when you're talking like first ballot, if they've been out there a while and they haven't got put in yet, then that could be potentially a problem, and maybe it's their time. But we've seen that. We've seen guys go in, I think, that are just too early. Guys that off of just winning championships, where then they have some stats, but really not a long career, and even more flash than what they really put out there. Julius Peppers, again, had a really solid career for a while, too. Mainly with the Panthers, but then played well at times for the Green Bay Packers. I felt bad for him that one year. It looked like they were going to go to the Super Bowl, and I think it just turned by like a switch right there. I think it was against the Seattle Seahawks. But then it just switched on him, and it would have been nice for him to go out a champion right there. But he says Sharper won't get in because of his post-career decisions. And that would be sad.
I think that should be thrown out.
Yeah.
Like that has nothing to do with his career on the football field. Like that should be all thrown out. Like, do I believe Darren Sharper is deserving of Hall of Fame? Yes. When you go by if you're going to talk about interceptions and in tackles and stuff like that, those are two critical categories for a defensive back. He's deserving of Hall of Fame. He's kind of right up there in that top 10 type of talk. For DBs all time. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would say he's deserving of it. And here's the other thing that is a little weird is when I'm looking on Pro Football Reference right here to look at these Hall of Fame leaders. And the weirdest category for me is Hall of Fame monitor score. It indicates players' chance of election to Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's a Pro Football Reference.
So,
stat that they do. That's what they do. Yeah,
it gives you a rating based on how likely they are to be voted in. And Darren Sharper's got a 76, which is really low. So that's kind of that to me is just nonsense. Like, you go by the body of work and how good of a player he was on the football field. That's it. That's all it should be. To me, Darren Sharper, I remember him playing and everything. Was a hell of a hitter, great tackler. Like, he made plays, and if you're that great of a player, you got to be in the Hall. I mean, it would be a damn shame if Sharper doesn't end up in the Hall at some point.
There you go. Mike Tackett says 100% agree. There you go. He's with you on that one. Yeah, I mean, and we see it all the time. We talk about Joe Namath and a bunch of others. So I mean. Yeah, we beat that horse all the time. We'll see. That's why we have these debates. It's great to have you guys out there talking with us.
Definitely,
Mike Tackett, Paul as well too. Everybody else out there, we appreciate it. Next, let's move on. Let's get off of the wide receivers again. Let's go into the big guys here, the guys on the trenches. We got Jake Long that's up for the first time here, offensive tackle.
Look at that smirk.
Yeah,
look at that guy.
What has he got? 9-year career. A 9-year career. The first 4, he was a Pro Bowler. Made it All Pro 1 year. Again, I think a decent lineman here for a left tackle, but again, Hall of Famer. I don't know. I'm really bad at judging these types of offensive linemen. I mean, I remember Jake Long in his career and playing, but again, I don't remember him really as a total lockdown type of left tackle. He was good, but it's tough for me to gauge when they go into the Hall of Fame where they meet up with these wide receivers. So I'm terrible on trying to judge this. So I'm saying I think some of the way the judges vote in, they don't really like to throw some of these big guys out there early. So I say he might get in, but it would be later on. Like,
So you know what?
Give it some years.
I'm gonna call the Hall of Fame out on this right now. There's no categories for offensive linemen based on.
Is it just linemen or just all together, defense and offense
this
together?
This is broken down position. So this is tackle, which is what he played.
Yeah.
But there's no categories for sacks allowed. There's no categories for pressures allowed. There's no categories for you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm even looking at ProReferenceFootball.com. There's terrible.
Categories,
they don't have any of that.
Categories that mean something to an offensive lineman.
See, that's what he brings up right there. Mike Tackett, Tony Baselli should get in before long.
Here's my issue with Tony Baselli. I'm just going to be honest with you. Tony Baselli had such a short career. As great as he was, he was one of the best, if not the best, tackle out there when he was playing. But to me, he had such a short career that it makes it really difficult to consider him to be great, like for the Hall of Fame. Like, I believe that you need to have a body of work in order to be considered, and that body of work has to be great in order to be considered for the Hall of Fame to be voted in. So Tony Baselli, the only reason is because, to me, he just doesn't have enough body of work to be put in there. But that's just me. That's my personal opinion.
Jake Long, they say right here, they track this stat, though, Joe. They have overall penalties here out of 104 games. It's holding 11 in his career, 15 false starts.
What does that mean?
6 declined, penalties, and then all penalties, 31 altogether. I'm like, what the hell?
What does that
so
mean?
Who cares about his penalties that he did? Yeah, he made mistakes here and there, like all of them do. But where, again, like you said, how many sacks did he allow? Where's all this stuff that they like to break down? So it's hard for me on this one. But
to me, okay, so you have
great player. I'm not sure about Hall of Fame on that.
There's got to be. How do they not have a stat for this?
I don't know why they do that. But
hold on, there's got to be something.
Well,
I gotta.
You looked it up. I think I'm going to get to the next guy, though, too, just to kind of put them all together.
Oh, hold on.
Mike Tackett says here, like you guys said, how can we track a lineman's body of work with the stats that they don't keep? Yeah, I know. And
so, okay.
Exactly.
You're right, Jim. Now I see, like, the holding, the false starts.
Yeah, false start. But, yeah,
what the hell
where's the other stuff? You know, sacks allowed, pancakes, or whatever, and now there's
exactly.
a stat somewhere. But and
Mike,
we love ProFootballReference.com.
Right.
We're going to say that right out there. We use this all the time. We love your website and all you guys do for that. But some of the things, and you guys break down a bunch of different other analytics that I wouldn't even think of.
I just need you guys to do this.
Not have this? I don't get it.
Can you guys like maybe work this out to maybe have categories where it's critical for linemen, and this is where you could judge linemen based on comparing them to each other. As you know, pressures given up, sacks given up, you got holding and false starts, but you need more than that. You need the pressures and stuff like that they give up. That's where you can kind of gauge offensive linemen then, instead of just saying, hey, Jake Long is deserving of a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, this is hard for me. Like, watching Jake Long play, he was a great tackle. Don't get me wrong. Great tackle. But when you're trying to compare him to guys like Anthony Munoz, who played way back in the day, and and Orlando Pace, you know what I mean? Like the phenomenal great tackle that he was for the Rams, and guys like that, like how do you compare them if you don't have the stats in front of me? Like I can't get a stat that tells me enough about the lineman. I bet you. You know what's funny though? I bet you if I looked up current linemen, they'll tell me those things. Where's the stats for these guys that are retired?
Yeah, absolutely. But here, let's bring up another offensive lineman just for the debate here, too, as well. We've got Nick Mangold. Now, when you look at Nick Mangold, at least for me, too, center for the Jets, I mean, the best in his position at that time, for a long career, to play on a terrible team again. But when you knew in the Jets, you saw Nick Mangold, he was solid. You knew it. right away. So when I look at him, again, I'm thinking Hall of Fame career. This guy's the best at his position when the time that he played, just on a bad team. But that's the thing. The question I just had with Jake Long then, because look at him and he's played on some good teams, that were really good at caliber there and was a part of it. But when throwing out championships or playoff runs and here and there, all that, because that's a team stat right there, not just one particular player. I mean, look at Nick Mangold and the Jets. They had a playoff run a few years with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez, but can you blame him for them not making it or whatever? If they did make it, it was all Nick Mangold and it wasn't Sanchez. But then when they lost, you blame the butt fumble on him. I mean, it's tough. So that's why it's all perspective and how you look at it, and you want to throw stats in there as well to help support your opinion. But that's all basically it is, opinion based too, and based on the information that you have, and basically sites that you see, on the eye test for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. Is like that's why I don't understand they don't have these categories like we're talking about. It doesn't make sense for linemen not to have them, because that's where you can really gauge the truly great linemen versus the guys that they got a big name when they played, but they don't have the stats to prove how how good they are. So
all right, so let's move out of that then. Let's go right to this guy. And
Nick Mangold, definitely deserves it.
Definitely. So another Jet here. And they also played. I think we played the Chargers too, right? And then this guy.
That's where he started his career.
Yeah, more known for having like 20, 30 children and stuff from all different women and things like that, and a crazy a child care bill. It's Antonio Cromartie here. All right, Antonio Cromartie, and he's up now for first time for the Hall of Fame. And I don't know. I don't really see Antonio Cromartie in that light. I mean, I know he had a pretty decent career, with the Chargers again, then with the Jets, but he was part of that defense under Rex Ryan too, where, they played well, but I don't see him as a Hall of Famer again. I mean, good player, but I don't think he's on that caliber. What about you? Let's throw him out there. Where does he sit with a Sharper then? If you want to do a quick comparison, if you could. I mean, is he up there near them or not? Or?
See, here's the thing: is like Sharper. Here's the thing with corner, is you got pass deflections, you got obviously touchdown, interceptions. He had 31 interceptions, which isn't super impressive. But I wonder, like, if you look at corners right now. Let me go to the cornerback section here. The DB, back to the DBs. Let's see here. Pass deflection. So, like, just to put it into perspective, go ahead.
Well, Mike Tackett says that Cromartie gets in simply for the ability to impregnate so many women.
That's what she said.
Maybe. That could be a good argument in the room there, Mike.
It could be.
But when you're looking at top pass deflecting corners, DBs, whatever, you got Champ Bailey at the top with 203. And for Cromartie's way down the 80s.
Yeah.
So he's down by, like, right now, Marcus Peters has 86. Cortland Finnegan, if you remember him, at 87.
Yeah, I remember him.
But that's pass deflections, what I think is a huge stat for corners. Guys that break up the passes and everything. In terms of interceptions, your top guy is Paul Krause with 81. Rod Woodson right behind him with 71. Charles Woodson, 65. And then for Cromartie, he's got 31. So, to be honest, I don't think Cromartie's deserving of being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
I think he's got too low of stats to be considered one of the absolute greats all time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why he's on the docket, to be honest with you. Makes no sense.
I don't know.
Darren Sharper should get in this year. I'm telling you right now. I agree with you, Mike. Sharper needs to be in there.
He starts to come, and then he pulls out.
And I guess, Antonio Cromartie didn't pull out enough, I guess. So that was his problem. But Paul, he says Paul Gruber for the Hall of Fame.
Definitely didn't wrap it up.
It's not enough. So, again, you're looking at left tackle. Again, he played, went to 88 to 99, so 11 years.
I wish we had stats,
Again,
Paul.
stats we can. Again,
I wish we
look
had
at fumble
stats.
recoveries. That's an important stat for a tackle.
Yeah, what the hell?
What the hell, dude? You know what I mean? This is stupid. Sorry, guys.
Games played, games started.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you look back at it,
anyway.
Again, when I was younger, I was young still. I was a Giants fan through the 80s, but I didn't pay attention as much as I do now, I guess. I didn't expect I was going to be talking football in my 40s. So, unfortunately, I can't help you out on that one. But if I got some more stats, we take a look at it, I'm willing to have that conversation. Absolutely. So let's move on now to Robert Mathis here for the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts right there. He was on the other side of Dwight Freeney. So he was part of that combination too. And I think sometimes he gets overshadowed because he had Freeney right there with the whole spinneroonie thing he was doing. But Mathis was still just as what's the word? But terrorizing, I would say, even too, some of the moves that he had. And I think what he really perfected was that angle that they try to get on the outside when they rush, getting that nice, what was that 45-degree angle here and get around on the outside of some of these guys.
Yep.
I think he really perfected that fairly well and was a menace in the backfield here. But what do you think about Robert Mathis here of making it to the Hall of Fame?
So Mathis had 123 sacks, which now if I pull up the defensive end chart, I'm waiting for it to load. So we have obviously Reggie White's on top. You got a lot of really good DNs, man. But to put it into perspective.
We're doing great with words today.
Yeah, perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So just to talk real quick about Peppers, because his name got brought up.
Oh yeah.
He had 159.5 sacks, which places him fourth all time.
Oh.
Interceptions for this guy, 11 interceptions as a D end, the most all time. So I would probably go and just say, Peppers definitely 100%. Just by even reading a couple of those stats, tackles, he's even up there too. We're talking about Robert Mathis here. Robert Mathis had 123. He's a little bit farther down on the list with 123. It's kind of very crowded when you talk about sacks. In terms of, let's see, let's go to tackles. Not a whole lot. 350 or 538. Never mind, 538. He has. And then, you could even go into, let's see, what did he have? Did he have any interceptions? 1. Okay. Well, that takes that off. I was going to look at fumble recoveries or something like that.
Or forced fumbles.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's debatable, whether it's a few years or even not. Then you would think then possibly, right?
Yeah, tackles, he's kind of a little bit down the list, but I still would. And this is the kind of thing we talked about receivers, a threshold. So for defensive ends, would you consider sacks kind of like a threshold at some point, 100 sacks or more? You know what I mean? In order to be considered in the Hall of Fame. And then you go to combined tackles. He's a little bit farther down the list with 500. So I'm honestly, I'm going to say just based on these stats right now, I'm going to say no.
All right, there you go. That's Joe's take on that one. Now let's move on. We got 2 more here for this, and we'll move on to our picks in a little bit. We got Vince Wilfork here for the big guy, the guy with the overalls here. I almost put that picture up there, but I wanted to put one in when he was actually in the jersey. I think that's more appropriate here for the big man here for the New England Patriots. D tackle, and again, there was a big impact for that defense for so long too. So Vince Wilfork, what do you think about him making it into the Hall of Fame? First ballot, I don't know, but maybe again, it depends on how people look at him. I think again too.
Here's the thing: is he was a nose tackle.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting him to have huge amount of sacks and be have it be like a stat monster, that doesn't happen with nose tackles. What's their job? Their job is to just take on bodies, pretty much. And if they do end up, getting a sack here and there, that's a huge accomplishment. So for a guy his size, 325 pounds at 6'2". Can you imagine that? Dude was humongous. So he had 16 sacks in his career. He had 5 forced fumbles and 367 solo tackles at the D tackle position. So if you look at let's see here, let me pull up sacks.
Where does that lay him then with the other crowd?
Like he would be kind of low actually. So 30 some odd sacks is way down on the list because he's played nose tackle.
Can you just separate tackles at all, or the nose tackles? Like Haloti Ngata, where's he on that list? And some other those bigger type of nose tackles.
So
that were out there. Yeah, I mean, again, he was part of championship teams too as well. I know that's not a stat that we track for Hall of Fames there. So I mean, that was overall good defense under.
I mean, you're
Bill
talking. This is tough. Like for a nose tackle to be in the Hall of Fame, this is really tough. Like even in terms of combined tackles, he's down like with Marcel Darius, Derek Wolfe, who's still playing. Albert Hainsworth, who I don't think is deserving of being in the Hall.
No, I don't think Hainsworth
like so, it's tough. I mean, I don't know. It's tough because here's what I will say: is he deserving of the Hall of Fame? Mike, this kind of goes along with that situation that you were talking about, like stats. You know what I mean? This is where this doesn't help a guy like Vince Wilfork get in. Because if it is all about stats, Wilfork, hell no, does not get in at all. But I would say this, based on his impact on the defense that he played on, he's Hall of Fame worthy. It's not going to show up on the stat sheet. Because this guy would take on bodies on bodies, and that would free up guys like Willie McGinnis and guys to go in and tackle the running back or get the quarterback. So that's not even going to be on the stat sheet. So his stats are extremely low, but his impact on the football field was Hall of Fame worthy. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm right on that one too. And Paul says the same thing. Wilfork is worthy, and I'd take him on my team. He says, "There you go."
Boom, shaka.
I think anybody would be willing to take that giant man on their team.
Absolutely. All right, now finally here, the 10th player out there for the first time here. It's DeMarcus Ware. I'm just going to say yes right away here because this guy is not only just one of the greater players that played, I think, in his era, but then also a great person, too, and everything altogether guy. And this is I'm a Giants fan, and I hate to say it, stuff, but, I mean, I've seen this guy play, and it's just remarkable everything that he's done. So I'm just going to say yes. Whether it be, again, this year, though, I don't know. It's funny how the way people are voted in on some of these. I'm not sure, how they're going to judge it. Like you said, even with the tackles and things, and the, nose tackle, these guys take a while before they get in there. You know what I mean? Kickers were snubbed for a while before they do. So everybody wants the wide receivers and the quarterbacks, running backs, because that's what they see. Those are guys with the big stats and the big points. So everybody wants to see some of these guys finally get back in here and get some of these their careers recognized for what impact they did have on the game altogether. So
if we're gonna go with sacks here, you look at he had 138 and a half. That's pretty darn good. That's up in that top 10 range. Of being a stellar player there, so for sacks and stuff. So I mean, and that's a huge thing for DNs is to get pressure, get in there, and get after the football. So I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say he deserves to be in the Hall.
Absolutely, yep. I mean,
because I'm gonna be honest with you. If you get 130 plus sacks, that's a phenomenal career. I mean, in the NFL, that's crazy.
Here you go. Mike Tackett's got the list. Few guys he wants to see in the Hall of Fame.
No.
He wants to see. We personally want to see in Canton. All right, ready, Joe?
Okay. What
all right. Here, Carson Palmer, Vinny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe. That's for your quarterbacks. Running backs: Sean Alexander.
Like Sean.
Corey Dillon, Ricky Williams, and fullback Mike Allstott. Tom Rathman. I remember him. Wow. Yeah. Lorenzo Neal. Yeah. Okay.
I like Lorenzo Neal.
Yeah.
I like.
Yep. Wide receiver.
Bolden. Reggie Wayne.
Anquan Bolden. Reggie Wayne. Andre Johnson. Tight end Antonio Gates. Yeah. You know what I mean? Again, he was one of those tight ends that was, former basketball player too as well. That was that athletic type of tight end at the time. Now, when he tried to come back, he wasn't so much, but treated much like a wide receiver. He was that type of go-to guy for Phillip Rivers. So that was big for them. Oh, then he throws in returner Devin Hester.
I don't think you're going to have any issues with Antonio Gates getting in the Hall. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Guy leads the all-time list in receiving touchdowns alone. And in terms of receiving yards, he's up in the top 5, I believe.
Yeah, he's got to be up
there.
there.
He's the third highest all-time in receiving yards. You know what I mean? So, there's no doubt about it. Gates is going to get in. No doubt about it. Now, here's the interesting thing is you mentioned a couple of guys like Tom Rathman, like Lorenzo Neal, like Mike Allstott, like fullback-type guys. Those guys are going to have a harder time getting in because there's not a fullback position in the Hall of Fame for some reason. All they have listed as quarterback, running back, receivers. So I'm not 100% sure if those guys will even ever get in. I mean, they were phenomenal blockers, and then Mike Allstott had that great year of just trouncing the NFL and beating them up running the football. So, I like those fullbacks. I wish they would get in because they were phenomenal blockers and great fullbacks. They are definitely Hall of Fame level fullbacks, but I have a hard feeling that they're just not going to end up getting in.
He says London Fletcher, Donnie Fletcher, and Zach Thomas here for linebackers as well.
I mean, Zach Thomas and London Fletcher, 110%. I don't. And this is the thing, Mike. Right? You're listing all these players that have great stats. They were great players when they played. They made their team better. They were great guys on and off the field. Like those guys will eventually get in, but you can see like how you're going crazy with naming all these names. There's more names too that are deserving.
The fact that they're still not in yet. I mean, if they've been retired for a while.
Right, and they only every year they only have like what is it, 7 that get voted in at the final?
Yeah.
The final list, or no, maybe it's 10 max because they have like 3 senior finalists
that's what I mean.
get in.
Yeah, the senior ones.
Think about that. Out of all the great players that have played this game, this great game that we love, only about 7 to 10 guys get in every year. So the list just keeps getting bigger every single year with guys retiring and what have you. So this is going to be an issue going forward for a long, long time.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So here we go. I told you guys about a segment I started to add this year to the show. And every time we know about with fantasy football, but also with your team, there's a guy that, you could usually rely on, but then all of a sudden he doesn't show up on Sunday. Where is he? What the hell happened? We saw with Aaron Rodgers week 1. He was my week 1 milk carton player of the week because he was just found out missing. So now I'm handling week 2. My week 2 milk carton player of the week was the guy who was on the opposite side of Aaron Rodgers in week 1.
Absolutely.
There you go. It's Jameis Winston right there. Where did he go? Where did this guy go? That people were quick to fill out that imaginary meme form, like just send these back to him to apologize for writing them off and all that stuff. Where was he? So we're still looking for you, Jameis Winston, out there. Maybe you're out there, suffering from depression, and you're going out to get some more crab cakes or crab legs or something. And maybe we'll see you. Maybe we'll see you next week. We'll see what happens. But there you go, Jameis Winston, my milk carton player of the week for week 2.
Yes,
I'm gonna have week 3 out later on next week. But Joe, why don't you tell us before we get into our picks? Tell us a little bit about our friends here at Johnstone Supply in Troy.
Johnstone Supply, yeah. Hey, it's the fall season, everybody. Football season is kicked off. We are all excited about our teams and possibly where they could end up by the end of the year. Listen, winter's coming. It's going to get a little bit cold. Do you need any parts for your furnace? Do you need your furnace replaced? Do you need anything fixed on it? And so forth, just to keep warm. Hit our guys up at Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York. They are on 6th Avenue, Troy, New York. You can... Listen, the colder months are coming. These guys are gonna be there for you to help. They're family-owned and operated business, Johnstone Supply. Listen, they've been great for upstate New York residents. They've been there for everybody that's ever needed the help. go ahead and you just go ahead and talk to our guys, George or Tom and the rest of the staff. They're looking forward to helping you guys out. Follow them on Facebook or give them a call today, 518-272-5922. That's 518-272-5922. Johnson Supply, 6th Avenue, Troy, New York. Hit them up. They'll be there to help you guys out.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy, right now it's not getting cold yet, but it's getting there, Joe. But
we're rounding the turn.
Rounding the fall is coming. We're seeing the trees and drop their leaves and everything and all that other nonsense. But when you need it, when the times come, get on it now. Go to our guys over there, Johnstone Supply in Troy. And also, if you guys need that little bit of pick-me-up, why don't you go to repsports.com, too, and get yourself some Raise Energy. They have some new flavors out there. It's going to be leaving shortly, I'm sure. I think that peach, we just had the peach the other day. It was amazing.
Yeah, they're running out of that right now
running
as we
out
speak.
real quick. So, get your Raise. Make sure you guys go to repsports.com, promo code Raise 'em Up. Check it out. It's sugar-free. There's dye-free. All of it's clear, but there's great flavors, and it's amazing, buddy. And like I said, there's no crash. We drink it all the time on our show and out doing things, and it is amazing. It's
I
that
could
other
really use one
alternative.
right now.
Yeah, it's the alternative to that other stuff, because I've tried some of the other ones, the Monster and all that other junk
Get
stuff
a little
like that.
jittery.
Yeah, and I feel like crap after later on and stuff like that.
But yeah,
this stuff's great.
These guys at Raise Energy, listen, they're made in the USA, right down in Florida. Hey, Mike, check that out. They're right in Florida down there by you. But
he could get it direct. Maybe he could give us a
he could
deal.
probably walk
Maybe
into
get
the
a better deal
warehouse.
we get, yeah.
He could just get it right from the warehouse. Walk right in there. Just tell them Football on the No Show just sent you. But no, if you want to help us out, support the show, support our some of our sponsors here. But Raise Energy is really good. Go ahead, promo code Raise 'em Up. Enter it in there for anything that you order through them, and it's not just energy drinks too. They got powders. They got all kinds of stuff. Protein shakes. They got They got protein cakes, everybody.
Yeah.
I just got a couple of packets of those. I'm going to try them out.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that works out.
Nice.
But, all your fitness needs galore. Listen, and you don't need it just to work out. If you need to get through your work day or just power through an event that you're working or whatever, Raise Energy is the way to go. Listen, you're going to get phenomenal energy for like an hour or two, and then when it wears off, you're not going to feel drowsy, tired. Just want to hit the bed and just go to sleep. No, it just wear off, and you're still fine. You're good to go.
Absolutely, and also the hydration that's with it too as well. It's awesome. Here we go. Mike Taka, he said, "Do you guys think the NFL should do the same thing the MLB does and give a window to get into the Hall of Fame? Say after 10 years of eligibility, if they're not in, they're just out." I don't know about that, just because I think I look at the way the rosters are and so many players even in the NFL. For me, I think there's such a bigger pool to kind of just leave them out after a certain amount of years. I don't know. It's tough.
I would just say because it's so backlogged for all the players that are going to be due up. Because, listen, you're not eligible to be due up until like 5 years later down the road after you retire. So I think because it just keeps getting backlogged, what they can do is something similar to it. If like we talked about that threshold idea for every single position based on a certain stat line, like if you don't reach that requirement, then you're just not going to be considered. You know what I mean? That's what they should do. Because listen, there are definitely guys in the Hall of Fame that they don't really deserve to be there, but they're there because somebody guaranteed a Super Bowl win and they won it, and stuff like that. But the stats, some of the stats are pretty bad in the Hall of Fame. Some players that are in there now, their stats are not comparable to the guys that are on the top 10 list type of deal. So, and they're in the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, I think until they correct that and do some kind of formula that way, that's really I think the best that they can do.
Maybe they could just let them all in. They could be like Joe Biden and just say, "Hey, everybody, come on out, sit out here." Everybody be camping out right outside of Canton, like, "Hey, we're still here. Like, we're here now. Just everybody wait to get your turn up in there. Let's have some congestion and finally get everybody in there. Maybe that'll happen. Who knows? We'll see."
I doubt it.
But anyways, let's go. We'll go on to our. All right, whatever, Trump. Let's go on to our next thing. It's our picks, Joe. The picks competition. I don't have the glass here again, but every year we do a bet now. The last 3 years.
It's all right. The glass doesn't need to come out towards the end.
But we'll show you. It's a big football that you can drink liquor out of it. Football shaped. It's almost life size of a football. And we pick the alcohol, and then we have to do your punishment if you end up losing at the end of the season. Right now, the competition is fierce. It's early, but Joe has a 4-game lead on me right now. But we'll see. It's a long season. We even have an extra week now, too. So, who knows what will happen during that.
An extra week
but there he goes. There's the picks going on. We got the competition. We're excited. Pick along with us, guys out there, even if you're on podcast listening to us as well, Apple, Spotify. Speak to your iPod and things like that.
Listen,
this is what I want.
Yell into the. No. Seriously, we really appreciate you guys that support us.
Absolutely.
Listen, all the OGs that have been here since day one, really appreciate you guys like Mike. It's been an amazing ride so far, and it's still going to continue. Listen, we got some exciting, really freaking exciting stuff happening in the near future for us. Can't wait to let you guys in on that.
I'm busy right now. I feel like I got a second life. Like I'm a
second job
too, man.
But all in all, anybody on podcast, thanks for following us. Hey, if you like what you've heard already, if you like what listen, we like to have fun, and if you want to be more interactive with us, we really encourage you guys to go head over on YouTube. Football on the Know Show. Search us up on there. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell for when we go live. You can interact with us in the comment section. Hey, we can bounce off ideas. Hey, if you want to vent, you can vent. We're here for you. We're your therapist for the NFL throughout the season.
Absolutely.
And also, all the sponsors, thank you very much for supporting our show. Listen, we're on to bigger and better things, baby, and we're looking to take over the world by storm.
Absolutely. Here we go. Let's take on the picks, at least for right now. Thursday night's game, Carolina Panthers at the Houston Texans. Again, Houston now is going to be starting Davis Mills here. And Carolina, they look red hot. Like, Joe, you called it, I think, on that one. And Sam Darnold looks really comfortable. And it's nice when you have,
It's amazing when you got a line and
weapons, running back. It looks really nice for them. Carolina Panthers defense looks nice,
Good job,
too.
New York, by the way.
So I'm just going to not put a whole lot of debate into this right now. I'm sorry, Houston. You've been looking really nice, but now is your time to lose. I like the Panthers here.
Houston has a Tyrod
Paul's going with the Panthers.
Texans. They just don't have a quarterback. They're rushing in this rookie quarterback. I'm really concerned for his health. They might lose him as well after this week. So I'm going to go with the Panthers. Listen, there's way too much mounted up against this Houston team. Carolina's coming in hot.
All right, here we go. Now we've got the Washington football team. You know what? When I was trying to search for football team to get their damn logo to do matchups, it really pissed me off because I'd have to write Washington, then football, then team. You know how Google tries to track that shit? That is so hard. Why can't you just pick a damn name? Anyways, Washington football team versus the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills at home. Bounce back after a week one where they looked like they had control of that game. They just kind of get it going and it seemed like they got too lax. I don't know, couldn't get it going. Josh Allen and a couple overthrows, not as accurate. Fixed it the second week here. Washington, their defense would seem like if it was going to take off from what it was last season, not looking so hot, even with like you said, the Giants, even with that poor offensive line and being able to put up points on them, looking a little rough. And then the fact that they don't have Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy they were banking on to get them to that next level. They have Taylor Heineke, which again, it's a nice story. I think if the Giants end up securing that victory and winning, you're not hearing all the accolades that you're getting down to Taylor Heineke because it's such a great freaking story. Because I understand,
it's a great story, but at the same
time,
time,
played for the XFL and all this stuff.
Yeah, but
he took what they gave him, and they gave him a whole lot, and that's how they end up winning.
Not just that, but it's not all great news out of Washington if you think about it, because Taylor Heineke didn't do that great.
Yeah, exactly.
He did checkdowns, but then he also forced balls into coverage.
Absolutely.
So everybody's getting on the Taylor Heineke, train. But let's dial it back a little bit.
Just remember, they're going to build you up as quick as they can tear you down too, as well. So that being said, on all this thing, I'm going with the Bills here at home.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills. I mean, they looked really good, and we kind of figured they were going to come back strong in week 2 and make a statement. And sure enough, Miami, got their bells rung on that one. Buffalo Bills are at home against the Washington, football team that really doesn't know this team that well. So usually when this happens, when you got like an AFC and NFC opponent matching up, both teams are going to have to feel each other out. They really don't know, each team. Yes, they're going to watch game film and all that and do their game plan. But when you get on the football field, it's a little bit different. So I like Buffalo in this one.
All right, Joe's along with Buffalo too. So is Paul. Paul likes Buffalo. All right, the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. Now we get to see Justin Fields against the Cleveland Browns. Browns almost let one slip away from them here. I mean, they had a good fight in the first game too of the season too,
right?
And then kind of
they
let
gave
that one
game
get
up.
away. They give it exactly. They did almost the same thing in this one here. If the Chicago Bears defense plays tough too, like they did the last week, this could be a really, 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 really close game here. So, and despite even the injuries now Cleveland's having, I mean, Jarvis Landry now to be on the sidelines along with
Jarvis
with Odell still. I mean, you've got issues there. So now I think they got to go run heavy with Nick Chubb here against the Bears, trying to get the game going that way, keep it balanced, so it makes it easier for Baker Mayfield because he does play at it better out of the play action. It opens up the field for him. I'm going to stick with Cleveland at home, but depending on how Justin Fields plays along with this, I think the defense is going to play good. This could be a really close game.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. Cleveland's going to have to throw the ball. And there is this Odell sighting, everybody. As of right now, he's looking like he's going to play this week. So that they get back a weapon. They lose a weapon, but they get back a weapon. And that's going to bode well for Baker Mayfield and the Browns offense. Listen, both teams, they have good defenses. Both teams, they got their ups and downs here and there on offense. But I love Justin Fields. I'm going to go Chicago in this one. I like the Bears defense. I like Fields being able to add that extra dynamic on offense. And they're a little bit healthier.
All right, maybe I can win a game back here on this one. We'll see. All right, Baltimore Ravens at the Detroit Lions. Detroit's been playing tough. Again, you know what happened with this whole trade. You send Jared Goff there to die, pretty much a team that's rebuilding stuff, but they're playing hard. They are competing with these teams, but I don't think it's enough, especially with the way this Baltimore team has been playing. Everybody knows they're going to run. They still run on you. No matter who else in there, yet they had injuries at the running back. What do? They get Latavius Murray in there, and still Lamar's still doing what he's doing. I still like the Baltimore Ravens in this one. I think they're just have what it takes here in Detroit. It's going to be a good story. They can play tough, but I don't think they got it. And Paul says Lions get their first one. Look at that. How about that?
I mean, yeah, they're a competitive team. Hey, listen, they got a pretty good offense, actually. They could probably stay with most teams throughout the NFL.
Really nice for them even right now.
And the other thing, too, is that I'll say is that, the Lions, they're just lacking defense, really. I mean, that's really their biggest problem is they don't have enough legit players on that defensive side of the ball. And because of that, that's where you get that rebuilding from. Like, offensively, I think they're ready to go. They got a lot of young receivers, like you just said, Quinton Cephas and also Amon St. Ra. And they look good, but they're going to be better next year. But defensively, they're struggling. They got a lot of holes there. So because of that, I'm going to go with Baltimore as well.
Big pile of shit.
All right, here he's going with Baltimore as well. The Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. Again, if Tennessee goes back to their game plan, let's keep it close here. Run back and forth. But then also that opens up for Ryan Tannehill. The weapons that he has now. Tennessee's here at home. Indianapolis, I think, again, you've got Jacob Eason starting, not even Carson Wentz, but I think even if Carson Wentz ended up being the starter, this game would have been closer, but I'm still going to go with the Tennessee Titans here at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tennessee. I don't have a lot of confidence in the starting quarterbacks.
Yep.
And they're going to go through their issues, as they wait on hopefully Wentz coming back eventually.
All right, next we've got the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Wow, this is a matchup. Let me tell you.
This is going to be a shootout, everybody.
Woo!
It's
either close.
This is either going to be a shootout back and forth, or it's going to be extremely low scoring and a lot of field goals.
All right, I'm going to let you take this one first. How about that? I've been riding the front on these ones. What do you think about this one? This is your division, AFC West. Chargers, Chiefs at home at the Kingdom. They do play, better there. But, again, you've seen the holes in the defense here. It wasn't only for Tyrann Mathieu's interceptions that he got the last game, but really those were just mistakes that happened with Lamar Jackson. And the one interception was just because Sammy Watkins slipped in his cut. and then didn't have enough time, and that happened to be right when Lamar Jackson threw the ball.
Right. The Chargers, listen, I like the Chargers. Are the most complete team when they're matching up against Kansas City. Kansas City's got the best offense, but we've seen their defense struggle the last couple of weeks. So I like the Chargers going into Kansas City and stealing a win here.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Who the hell cares?
The Chiefs, too, when you look at it, people, I think that the last two teams have shown that if you just put a couple guys on Tyreek Hill, you can lock down those other receivers even that they have a bit. As long as you can put some coverage on some of them, they're going to get what they get. Travis Kelce, he's going to get what he gets still.
You see what the Ravens did defensively.
Mm-hmm.
They double teamed Tyreek Hill, and then they just covered underneath Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Listen, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the two weapons he looks to throw to all the time. Mm-hmm. And if they're not there, that means now he's got to wait a little bit longer, and then that's when the rush starts to get to him. And he might make a mistake that way.
All right, here Paul says he's got the Titans on the last one. He has the Chargers on this one. I'm going to go with the Chargers as well here on this one. All right, the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots. New England at home. The Saints, they're like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde so far this season. He had outstanding this time. Not so good this time. But really, we talked about it with the biggest questions when we brought it about over the summer. And didn't I ask with the biggest question, maybe is the defense, maybe the highlight of this team? Maybe so far, I think they've been fairly good. Keep them in it. The first week, the offense played fairly well. But what the hell happened last week?
I mentioned it in the offseason that the New Orleans Saints defense is going to go through a little bit of a change. They missed a lot of players. They don't have their star-studded defensive pass rusher and Trey Hendrickson. He's not there. Like they're missing some players. So
you're
going to see a downturn in that team defensively and offensively. It's like the roll of the dice week to week with Jameis Winston. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he's going to be phenomenal, like we saw in week 1, and then sometimes he's going to be really bad, like in week 2. So this week, going up against the New England Patriots, I happen to love the Patriots defense up against the Saints offense, and Mac Jones, who yes, he's a rookie, but he doesn't play like a rookie. He plays like a consummate veteran, and I feel like he's going to dial it up against New Orleans. He's going to take what's given to him, and the Patriots going to have a great game plan going up against the Saints. I got New England at home.
Here we go. Paul says he has the Saints. I'm taking a look at this one again, and I look at New England at home, and the defense is starting to step up a little more too as well. Mac Jones, I brought this up with somebody else. I was talking about them. It's when you see him run the offense, it is really similar to what the Patriots like to do and what you saw with Tom Brady. But when you look at the eye test, you don't see that aggressiveness that Tom Brady even had a little bit. He stepped up even more that Tom Brady had, and that's what you're kind of missing with that. But Mac Jones, he's putting the ball where it needs to be, takes what they gives him, and it's exactly what the New England Patriots do. I like them here at home as well.
Got Atlanta at New York Giants.
All right.
The Atlanta Falcons, man, they've been a great disappointment to everybody in the league. Listen, their offense is going through a little bit of a change now that Julio Jones isn't there, and it shows. You know what I mean? Like their offensive line is not playing up to par. They don't really have a running game because they're always chasing from behind. They got to throw the football. Their defense is, Jesus, it's in rebuild mode, and. So for the Giants at home, listen, they play pretty competitively. I'm going to go with the G-Men at home.
All right, Joe's going with the G-Men. Take a look at this. The Giants are actually favored in this game somehow. This is the Eli Manning retiring jersey game, too, as well.
Very special.
So hopefully, they can emotionally get into this game here and do it for him at least. Atlanta Falcons, again, we knew they were going to be at the end of their division. We knew it was going to be a rough year for them. It's sad that Cordarrelle Patterson seems to be their best player on their team at this point.
I don't think it's sad.
Not the most used, though. I mean, it's kind of surprising, I think, for me that they've used them that much. So much in the running back situation.
The funny thing is
as they do.
Everybody's double teaming Calvin Ridley like we expected for defenses, but the real go-to guys in this offense is Mike Davis, Cordarrelle Patterson, and then the young rookie Kyle Pitts. And that's pretty much what it's been. Russell Gage, who we kind of thought was going to have a breakout year this year, has done absolutely nothing. So this team is not only trying to get better, but it's gonna take a couple years until we see them back in the playoffs.
All right, Mike Tackett has Texans, Bills, Browns, Ravens, Titans, Chiefs, Patriots, Giants, Steelers, Cardinals, Broncos, Raiders, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Packers, and Cowboys. I'm going to go with the New York Giants on this one.
Don't fail me again.
Exactly.
Perfect.
I hope
That was perfect.
that they don't fail me again on this. And what's excellent is next week we're going to be having a special interview with Lindsay Weitz, who is, I think, the assistant to the president of the Albany Empire here in the National Arena League. She is a diehard Giants fan, and she also has a podcast called Back in the New York Groove. We'll be talking to her a little bit about the Giants, and maybe we'll be virtually crying on each other's shoulders after this week. Who knows? We'll see. But all right, let's look at next up. We have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Hopefully, Ben Roethlisberger's booby is good, and the Cincinnati Bengals again. I had some. They do this to me, I think, every year. I think they play fairly well. And I'm like, wow, these guys could be pretty decent. So then I go with them on the next week and pick them, and then they fail me again, just like what I just said with that. Kind of blew it for me, but they made it close. They got back into that game. But couldn't get it done, lock it in. But Pittsburgh here, especially if Ben's playing, I think I like them still overall over the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
So the Steelers, this is interesting. Just like you're saying, Big Ben, this is a big if. If Big Ben's not there, it's easy Cincinnati. Right. And the other thing, too, to remember is that Bengals are going to be without a couple of their big-time pass rushers. I don't think T.J. Watt's going to be available. Pulling that hamstring or pulling that groin area, and Eli Highsmith, who's kind of stepped on the scene and been that extra pass rusher opposite TJ. He also did the same thing in last week's contest. So if they're without both pass rushers and the possibility of Big Ben not being there, I really don't like my chances with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I like the young group that they have at receiver, and their offense seems to be running better. I'd like to see a little bit more from their defense, but. You know how these rivalry games always go. They're going to be close. It's going to be like a grind them out type of football game. It's going to be Najee Harris versus Joe Mixon type of deal. In the end, it's going to be right down to the wire. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take Cincinnati on this one.
All right, Joe's going for Cincinnati on this one. The Arizona Cardinals at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville has been not very good. They just don't look at quarterback situations, just constant interceptions here. And Urban Meyer, his offense is just just trying to keep passing and stuff and forget about James Robinson altogether. They're kind of shambles right now. I can't trust them at all. I really like the Arizona Cardinals. I feel bad for the Jacksonville Jaguars because I think the Cardinals are going to come in here with a lot of offensive firepower and that defense getting back here at Trevor Lawrence. I like the Cardinals.
I'm really sorry, Trevor. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I'm really, really sorry because not only will you be running for your life, but you're going to be eating more grass this week. With this Cardinals defense that's coming right after you with Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt and all these young guys, it's going to be hard to contest with, I'll tell you that much. And then on top of that, Arizona's offense, the way it's been playing, good luck, Jacksonville. Good luck. I'm going Arizona.
All right, we've got the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos. Broncos 2-0, Jets 0-2. Again, quarterback just going through his turns, man. I mean, it's first starting in the season. The team's overall not very good. It's a bit of growing pains. It just so happens they're playing the Denver Broncos here at home, who's been playing fairly well. But again, if you look at the competition they played against too, it could be judged about how good is this team? We're not sure. We've seen the injury now to Bradley Chubb too. Can't stay healthy.
He'll be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep. And so, but Denver still, I think they still have enough firepower to beat the Jets here. I'm going to ride with the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, how lucky are the Denver Broncos for the first 3 weeks of football? Right? They're playing like powder puff teams right now. I mean, how could you not win against these teams? Otherwise, you would have been the laughing stock of the NFL. Mm-hmm. But Denver Broncos, listen, they're a decent team. They're a pretty good team. They got a good defense. They got some young, up-and-coming players like Patrick Surtain II. And then offensively, Teddy Bridgewater is like, he's doing his thing. He's game managing the offense just like he's supposed to be doing. And even though they're without Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, everybody, whoever forgot about this guy, he was out last year. with an injury. He's coming back strong with young guys like at tight end with Noah Fant and so forth with the running backs that they have. I think Denver is going to take this. It might not be as easy as some people think. I think the Jets might put up a little bit of a fight early on, but I'm going to go Denver as well.
All right, here we go. And now we got the Miami Dolphins, who never showed up last week, and the Vegas Raiders, who are on a roll. I don't know.
Is this a trap game?
This looks like a trap game to me.
It looks like a trap game.
It looks like a trap game to me, but again, do you want to talk about injuries? Carr ended up getting hurt for a little bit during that game.
Sprained ankle.
Yeah, sprained ankle, but he's going to play, right? So
he practiced today.
Yeah, so I'm feeling hopeful for that. I think the Vegas Raiders, it could be a trap game. It feels like it, but I'm feeling it. Them at home, Miami, especially if it's going to be Jacoby Brissett there. He didn't look so hot. I'm going to go with the Raiders again to go 3-0.
You watch Jacoby Brissett light it up.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be hilarious.
That would be terrible.
But real quick, Vegas is another team that's kind of limping into week 3 already. Listen, they don't have either one of their starting guards. They don't have either 2 of their starting linebackers. So this team is kind of going in flux, and they didn't have Josh Jacobs last week.
Yeah.
I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to be available for the next 3 weeks. I honestly don't. I think in order for him to be 100%, they might have to put him on short-term IR and ride out with guys like Peyton Barber and Kenyon Drake. But I love Vegas. Of course, they're my team. But Miami without Tua, to me, gives me a little bit more confidence. And the way this defense has been playing, I like what I see. Don't let me down. Don't fail me in the Death Star. All right?
Absolutely. Yep. All right,
Going
so there we
Raiders.
go. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams. This
This
could
is
be
a tough
nice
one.
game.
This is a difficult one.
All right.
This is for sure
again,
difficult.
Tampa, they haven't met, I don't think, a whole lot of competition. I mean, that Atlanta Falcons game became kind of close for some reason at one point.
At garbage time.
Yeah.
They came back because Tampa Bay let up or whatever, and that's what happens.
I mean, I like the way this defense plays, though, too. And I think Tampa Bay's defense has been kind of lax in a sense.
A little bit like Swiss cheese.
So, you know what? I'm going to go with the Rams on this one here. Matthew Stafford welcomes Tom Brady into SoFi Stadium and says,
Welcome.
get out, I guess. I don't know. I didn't have something planned for that.
This is my city. This is not Tampa Bay.
Yes.
This is going to be a really good game. I'm looking forward to seeing this game in particular. 2 really good teams. Now that Matt Stafford is now the quarterback for the Rams, listen, they're cooking on offense. Stafford finally has like a wide range of weapons. He's got a little bit of a running game, but now Henderson is out, so let's see how Sony Michel does in his absence. And defensively, I feel like the Rams are playing better defense than I thought they were going to because they lost quite a few big-time players like John Johnson III at safety. Tampa Bay, they're another team that's kind of limping into week 3, especially on defense. They don't have their starting corner on the one side, and Sean Murphy-Bunting, he won't be available. I don't know how long. I think what did he do? Break his forearm, I believe, in week 1. I think that's what happened to him. So I don't even know if he might be gone for the year. But that being said, Tampa Bay, listen, this is going to be a dogfight for sure. I like both defenses, even though Tampa Bay's kind of been giving up a little bit here and there. Offensively, it's going to be a shootout. I feel like. I mean, it's going to be the best offense who can prove that they're the best. What does Mike say? Mike says, I know we're doing picks, but what is going on with Reuben Foster?
Oh, man.
Botched his most recent workout this time with Cleveland. You know what? Real quick, Reuben Foster, he's very talented, a player. I mean, it's not a question of him being able to come back and being a dominant force at linebacker. It's more about him mentally and just being a stand-up guy. Like, he just can't do it. He's in trouble on and off the field. He's just not the right. He can't handle it. So he doesn't follow rules. So he most likely won't ever find a team.
Reality is often disappointing.
Yep. Yeah, and again, and that's why, I mean, some of those stories, like Reuben Foster, I hear like, oh, we're going to try him out. We're going to do this. I think the one was the Jets, too. I think, yeah,
Listen,
okay. All right, whatever. I don't care.
I think if any team would sign Reuben Foster, maybe Reuben Foster just didn't feel like playing for Cleveland. I don't know. Maybe that's why he didn't show up. But here's the thing: is whatever team gets Reuben Foster, you better have like a babysitter. You just got to have one. He's got to have like rent a friend to follow him all over the place and keep him in line, because if you don't, then he's just going to get in more issues.
All right. Yeah,
Anyway, so Tampa Bay and the
Rams.
Rams.
What you got? Rams or Tampa Bay? What are you doing? Come on.
This is tough.
Ride the Stafford train, baby. Let's do it.
I'm actually gonna go with
Tampa Bay.
Gonna go with Tampa.
Oh man.
Gonna go with Tampa there because I'll tell you why. Because it's such a close game and it could go either way. So why not go opposite?
Yeah, why not? It makes it fun.
And then maybe you'll come back strong and then
Maybe.
you'll tie it up in 1
Hopefully
week.
I can. No, I don't know.
You
We'll
could.
See. We'll
It's
see.
only 4
All right, here we
games.
go. Seattle and Minnesota. This is a trap game. Like this is like
It could be a trap
could
game.
go anywhere on this. This one could be anywhere. Seattle, failed last week, at home.
Against the Tennessee Titans, so I thought they were going to win.
I know. It was there, and they had the lead, and they let it squander away. And then
Let
Minnesota,
it off the hook.
They played hard, though. So you know what? If Minnesota can continue to do that in the way they played last week, I like Minnesota at home. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go with Minnesota at home. Well, how healthy is Dalvin Cook? Because he got banged up last week, but he was running like an animal, though, too.
Yeah, he's fine. He's not
All right,
on
good.
the
Yeah, I'm
injury list.
good. I'm good. I'm going with Minnesota then.
Here's my thing. So what surprised me about Seattle and Pete Carroll, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up, bro. Like, honestly, Pete Carroll, what are you doing? At the end of that game, he basically blamed Russell Wilson for the loss. He said, I wish Russell Wilson could have done more for us. Really? He doesn't do enough already? Listen, Russell Wilson was doing everything in his power to win that game. He wasn't gonna force a football down the football field with coverage deep. He wasn't gonna do that. He was taking what was given to him. And for Pete Carroll to say something like that, how about your defense, Pete? How about your defense didn't step up? Your defense didn't stop Tennessee's offense. That's why you were in the predicament that you were in. Get the frig out of here. It's not like Seattle's offense didn't score points. Shut up, Pete. Anyway, sorry. I had to say
that's
that.
fine. Now, sometimes, it's.
But
you
this
gotta let
game,
it out.
this game in particular, I'm more confident with Seattle playing at home than I am when they travel. Even though it's a 4:00 game, it's going to feel normal like a 1:00 game to Seattle traveling to the kind of, I guess, central. But Minnesota Vikings, I like a bounce back game this week. I think the Vikings, listen, they played very strongly on defense last week. They just couldn't come up with the win in the end. Because their damn field goal kicker couldn't make a kick. So I'm going to go with Minnesota, too, as well at home.
All right, excellent.
It is pointless to resist.
You may be right.
It is, yeah. So there you go. Now, Green Bay Packers and
Oh,
San
Jesus.
Francisco 49ers.
What are we going to see from Green Bay this week?
Ooh, I'm not sure.
'Cause I'll tell you right now-
They looked good last week.
It's not the same Green Bay of old. Like defensively,
That's true,
they are
definitely not
just like
defensive.
Swiss
Yeah,
cheese.
Yeah.
They're like Wisconsin cheddar.
Yep.
Green Bay's offense doesn't look like it's in tune like it used to. Even with Rodgers, even with Devontae Adams. Like, no, don't get me wrong. Last week they came alive, right, against Detroit. But they should. Detroit's defense wasn't good.
Yeah.
So they should. Maybe that's a confidence builder for them going into this week. I don't know, man. But I don't really trust Green Bay 110% like I normally would. Then you got the San Francisco 49ers. Their defense looks pretty darn good. But it's not as good as when Robert Saleh was the coordinator. That's the difference there. So DeMeco Ryans is now the DC. Doesn't have the Niners clicking on all cylinders. More like instead of 4, it's 3 cylinders. But it's enough to get the job done with all that talent that they have. And then for offensively, hey, Jimmy G's getting it done. So far he hasn't risked himself of injury. Their offensive plays are tailored directly to Jimmy G, so that way he can get the ball out fast, get the ball in the weapon's hands, and just let it happen. Now, who's going to start at running back this week? That's
Yeah,
what I want
the
to know.
question too. Yeah.
I want to know which newly signed running back is going to hold the reins here. You know, Kerryon Johnson signed a deal with a one-year deal with the Niners. Now you're hearing Chris Thompson just signed a deal yesterday. Look, they're still probably looking for more. Who's going to get the nod? That's all I want to know.
What the hell? Got excited there.
Dun dun. But man, San Francisco was at home. I don't like how Green Bay's playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go San Fran
He's going to go
myself.
San Fran at home. All right, Joe's going San Fran. I'm not sure on this one. It could go anyway. Again, oh, man, this is so tough. But, I'm going to go 49ers, I think, then, too. Why not? Let's do it. All right, here we go. Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas at home, Philadelphia. This is going to be a tough game just because it is a rivalry. They're going to play each other tough. I don't want either team to win. I would rather this
Can
be
they
a
both
tie.
lose?
I want this to be a tie.
Can they both lose? Is there a
No,
possibility?
They both cannot lose, but
Okay.
they can be a tie. Well, I'm
I was
looking
just
for a
checking.
tie.
I was just checking.
But I think overall, who's playing better? The Dallas Cowboys are playing better. You know, so I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys here at home. It's pretty much bottom line.
This is tougher for me because I feel like they're so evenly matched. The Eagles' defense has been playing pretty good. Their offense has been excelling more than I thought it would. This is going to be an interesting game. And usually with these interdivision games like in the NFC East, it's usually like they split their record every season. And because Dallas is home, I feel like that's how I'm going to have to lean too. I'm looking for Tony Pollard to have a huge day. Tony Pollard, that's right. You heard it.
All right, there you go.
And then Micah Parsons at the end, watch out.
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun.
Absolutely.
And I won't be surprised if Philly wins this game either, though.
You know, imagine if Micah Parsons did get picked by the Giants like we selected him to be.
Oh.
I mean, that would have been nice, too.
Wouldn't
for the
it have
Giants'
been,
defense,
you know,
wouldn't it?
if
I
they
would've
were
been complaining
smart?
about them, I think. Yeah, because what's Kadarius Toney doing right now?
Oh, isn't he just chilling?
He's complaining about not
Just
getting the ball
complains-
enough and trying
complains
to do
not playing a lot.
career. Yeah, here you go. Hot take coming in. I just turned all my
That's it.
buzzers off.
That's what
Mike
I'm talking
Tackett,
about.
Hot take. Start Tony Pollard.
Yes,
trade Zeke.
Mike.
Let's
Yes.
start the movement. Let's make a hashtag.
Let's do it.
Make a hashtag, Mike.
Let's make it happen.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors, Johnstone Supply, Buck Environmental Solutions, Mohawk Honda, PPK,
John
Paul Perry
Stone
Kitchens.
Supply.
Who
That's
else
my
we got
thing.
there? We have a bunch
We
out
got
there.
a
We think
whole
we
bunch. Raise
thank everybody.
Energy.
Raise Energy. Also, I want to say a special thanks to Stephen Murray, who is
Yeah,
the DJ
definitely.
on Knockout City. You can find it on EA Sports here on all your gaming platforms.
Dodgeball game.
He is our voiceover guy. He's helped us out since the beginning. He's been with us through his family, and we love him. And thank you so much. And John, from Down Monday here, thank you so much too for everything you've done and let us use your
100%.
music. Every time
Thank you,
we
bro.
hear that song now, I think of us, and that's our show start. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's from you guys. Down
Definitely.
Monday, it's awesome. I love it. It fits us perfect. And thank you so much for allowing us to do that.
Yeah, guys, hey, if you're new to the show, we really appreciate you checking us out. Listen, if you also know you got to have friends of yours that love football too, right?
everybody does.
Go ahead and invite them over. Go over to YouTube, Football on the No Show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell also so you can get the notification that when we go live, you can join us. You can talk to us. Listen, we cover everything football, everything fantasy. Even if you have some questions, some concerns about your lineups, whatever, just drop them down in the comments below. We'll definitely help you out. Thanks so much for the support. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, see you.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.